Fan Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, the Portland Trailblazers off on a travel day after grabbing their 26th win of the season last night over the Wizards. Shaden Sharp had a career-high 36 points. They're headed to Brooklyn to face off against the Nets tomorrow night, still sitting 4.5 games out of the final play-in spot in the Western Conference. On the college hardwood tonight, the Portland Pilots hosting Pepperdine University. It's their final home game of the season. Portland is a 3.5-point favorite. Coverage getting going over on 910 ESPN at 6:30. Tip-off set for 7 p.m. on ESPN+. Round one of the Cognizant Classic happening down in Florida right now. Jake Knapp, the current leader, he's at 12 under, a record-setting 59 in his first round. Daniel Berger and Russell Henley 4 strokes behind him at 8 under par. Big news out of the NFL as Kansas City Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce announcing that he will return for the 2025 season. He had 820 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns last season. A couple of other announcements from the NFL. They're officially installing that virtual measuring system that they were using in the background last year to determine first downs coming up in 2025. The league is also considering changes to overtime rules in the regular season. It would guarantee a possession for both teams. At least that's reportedly an option. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The Hot Corner, now in its new time. Tuesdays at 7 after Isaac and Sue on Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan. This is Danny and Dusty.
Meringatang is going to be a thing.
You're not coining anything new.
With Danny Meringue and Dusty, the Fan Man Hera.
I'll throw some monkey sounds in there and call it good.
The old Danny Meringue pie?
Danny and Dusty on the Odyssey app and 1080.
Yeah, this is going to be awesome.
The Fan.
Good afternoon! Welcome in! Happy Thursday, everybody. Danny and Dusty with you on this sunny Thursday.
Don't you tell me to
in
be
the
happy.
rose. Nope, yeah, I demand you be happy.
Don't you tell me.
Nope, I'm going to do it. I'm going to demand it.
Rude.
You better be happy. Schultze's here. What's up, Schulte?
What's up? Happy that I'm here with you guys. Tomorrow I'm going to be at the DMV, so just looking forward to enjoying my time until I can't.
Everything's
What
online
do you-
now, man. What are you going to go for?
Well, I haven't done the
No.
real ID yet, which that is the one thing you
yeah.
can't do.
Oh, hey,
So, got to go in person.
take my piece of advice here. Make sure you have more information
Than
than
you
you
need.
think you need.
Uh-huh.
You bring like
Oh, extra paperwork is what you're saying.
8 pieces of mail.
Yep.
Your
Your
Make
passport.
sure you bring a passport. If you have the birth certificate, bring that. Bring the old ID. Is the old ID expired yet?
Yes, but in Oregon, you can get it, I think, 12 months after, and
Yeah.
it's still valid, at least to go to the DMV.
So just make sure. Just make sure you have more than you need. Because I had to go to my car. They're like, we need an additional piece of mail. I had the pieces of mail required. I went down their little checklist. They're like, yeah, we're going to need another. I'm like, what else do you need?
I think
you
I-
have my current non-expired identification. You have my passport. I have a piece of mail for you that I don't know why you need this piece of mail. And it was, and you know what? You know what did it for me? It was that during COVID, we moved, and that was when the DMV said you don't need to come in and get the sticker or
yeah.
a new ID. They were just like, we'll just update the system. I was like, so your computer says you know my address. They're like, yes. Okay, so what is the problem here? This piece of mail has my current address, and it is a bill. And they're like, yeah, we just need a second one. I'm like, your computer says you know where I live.
It's insane. I brought in my an unopened mortgage, monthly mortgage, and I think like 3 utilities.
Yeah.
Along with my passport and my license. The best part about my real ID, and it drives my wife crazy now, when I took the picture, was that late November. My hair is
your hair is
very long. It's wonderful. It's gonna be there.
It's gonna look fantastic
forever.
when you
California
finally get
surf
arrested.
bum Danny.
Yeah.
When you finally get arrested for all of your various crimes,
And
and
I've
they
got
have
the
the
slick back
DMV
hair.
picture, and they're gonna be like, "Oh, he's not guilty."
Well, they actually, I don't think they post those anymore on the news to avoid being like
They
racist
don't?
or whatever. So no, I haven't seen a mugshot in a long time.
I mean,
You know what I ended up getting? Oh yeah, that's
that's a mugshot.
not
Yeah,
great.
slick back hair. Look like a.
You look
like
like
a killer.
in a biker gang. Yeah, that's not good, dude.
Yeah. No, it's it
Got a
looks-
leather jacket on.
No, actually, I have one of my USC hoodies on.
You know-
but
know-
I definitely have a Sons of Anarchy vibe going there.
You know what saved me when I went to the DMV? Because it had my name and it had my address. And after I was like looking at the woman dead in the eyes going, everything you have says this is my address. I had one of those in the car. I'm like, fine, I'll go out to my car to see if I can get another piece of mail for you. It was like one of the it was one of those Dick's Sporting Goods like
Oh,
they got
those-
the
yeah.
rebate thing.
You're
But
lucky you had that.
it had my name and it was like $10 off and it was just in my car and it had my name. Thank you for sending the mail. And I was like, this is all I got. And she's like, okay, it's not a bill. It's not a bill. But I feel like my complaining was loud enough to maybe a manager came over when I left and the manager's like,
That's
okay,
enough.
if the computer's updated,
Yeah.
he has mail, he has every other form of identity. Let's not make a scene because I was about to. That would have ruined my day.
You know what the best thing about this?
No, that
this
wouldn't
is-
have ruined
this
my
is-
day.
this is a
Who am
ter-
I kidding?
this
It would
is a
just ruin my
terrible-
hour.
Terrible thing here. The best thing about the COVID era with the DMV was the realization of everyone going, we don't need to put up with this crap.
Yeah. I mean that might be the biggest thing there that we can do it.
It took
without-
it took a lot of the bite out
Yeah.
of the DMV, and they were like, it forced them to go online.
I would love to like talk to a worker at the DMV because it feels like it's making their life harder again. Like it was like everything was harder when it was in person and you had to jump through all the hoops. Then it was like, hey, we could still get all of these things done and it works. And now it's like, we need more hoops to jump through.
I will say post-COVID,
Let's government this.
my wife and I we got married during COVID. She has not legally changed her last name yet because it's such a pain in the butt.
I don't think she's committed.
She changed the signs at work. So all of her signs and her email and all that kind of stuff is my last name. But she's like, this is ridiculous. Like you have to get an appointment at multiple places to do this.
Really?
Oh yeah. Yeah, and you can't do it online. You have to go in. You have to go to the Social Security office. You
Wait,
have
like
to-
after the fact or when you're getting married?
if you're just changing your last name.
Oh, I didn't know my wife had to do all that.
Oh yeah.
Thanks, baby.
Yeah, no, it is she's like, "Can you do this for me?" And I'm like, "No. It's your last name.
Damn.
My last name is already Meringue.
That
I don't need to do this.
That's brutal, dude.
Like you need to go in and do this." She's just like, ugh.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that was one of the things that was made harder through that whole process.
Well, I'm kind of nervous now. I thought I had like worried about it enough, but no. I think tonight I got to go home and find like 3 or 4 more items.
No,
I don't have a
Schultzy.
passport, but I do have a Native American ID, so I think that helps. me.
That'll your
that'll
tribe
work.
ID.
Yeah.
That'll work. What tribe are you a part of there, Schultze?
Grand Ron, good
Hey!
old Spirit Mountain Casino.
You and my wife.
Hell yeah!
Well,
really?
not yet. Because they're expanding the role.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's a contentious.
It is a contentious thing.
It's a
'cause
contentious situation. Yeah.
all of her mom and her aunt got in, and then they expanded it, and there's only one cousin of like the whole family. That was the youngest cousin. She got in, and no, like there's all the other cousins are like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
Because they just changed it. It was like a couple years in between her and when the youngest cousin was born.
Is it like a percentage kind of a deal?
Yeah.
It was a percentage. Now it's based on if you have a family member that was enrolled at some point. So essentially, we are opening up the floodgates.
Okay, so this is like a USAA kind of situation where it used to be only for service members, but now it's for service members.
Yeah, but
family
the
members.
bloodline
Basically.
of my wife and all of her siblings, it was good enough anyways.
Anyways? Oh, okay.
before. And so it was just that her parents weren't on the roll. I don't know how this happens. But my kids are going to be part of Grand Ron too.
Hey, there you go.
There you go.
Free healthcare, baby.
Yeah.
Good benefits.
Great benefits there.
I got to see if not as indigenous peoples, but where my very 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 Irish ties are. I got to see what clan I belong to. I believe is the
I don't
proper
think
nomenclature.
that's how it works.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if you're going to get any cool fringe benefits
Oh,
from that.
I'm not looking for the benefits or anything like that.
Being an Irishman myself,
Yeah.
there's nothing except for a lot of flack, and people assume you can drink well.
Yeah, call you drunk, right? That's
Yeah.
about it.
which is weird.
Yeah.
You know, it's a fair stereotype.
Same thing with being native, though, too. I mean, I guess people started to not joke about racist things as we, grew past like 2015, 2016. But as a kid, the firewater jokes were pretty common.
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
yeah.
come on, guys. Like,
I mean,
come up with something creative.
Look,
please.
look, Warner Brothers and Bugs Bunny went pretty hard on some stuff.
Yeah.
You think?
That cartoon comes up like the things that
Tell
they
you
got
what.
away with back then. Not even that long ago when we were kids.
Yeah.
Every time that those come up, I'm like, wow, how have they avoided being canceled?
Well, because that wasn't a thing.
I mean, retroactively, we've canceled like presidents.
Yeah, we pick and choose.
Yeah, but
Presidents that have been dead for 100 years. we
Back
canceled.
then, we didn't do that either. But it's Bugs Bunny.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, you could do like what Disney does on all their movies. They're just like, these racist stereotypes were wrong then and they're wrong now. But instead of like omitting them, we're going to put this warning. It's like
There is one film that Disney, even like 40 years ago, was like, oh, yeah, this is bad.
Three Caballeros?
No, Song of the South.
Oh, that is bad.
Song of the South, which is what Splash Mountain, formerly Splash Mountain, was based off of, where you have the Briar Fox, and it was took place on a slave plantation.
But we got Zippity Doo out of it, right? Zippity Doo.
That's right. That did happen.
Is Song of the South the one with the crows?
Yeah, there are crows in it.
Yeah.
Well, you're talking Dumbo.
Dumbo.
That's
what it
also
was.
another one.
Yeah, that one's a.
Yeah.
The other one that pops up in
Yeah.
that, besides the Bugs Bunny indigenous one, is the Donald Duck Hitler salute.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever seen that? Like, that wasn't that long ago. And he like peers over and sees like a little mini Statue of Liberty in the window, and he's like, And I'm like, what is going on here?
Yeah, that's not good. That's not good. Also not good, Native Americans, Peter Pan.
Oh, yeah. No, they didn't like us in that movie, did they?
Yeah, no, that one.
Not so much.
Yeah. But you want to go and say shows that just don't translate now? I think I've told this before, but we watched The Jetsons. Episode 1. Whoa.
Doesn't he slap his wife?
Oh, no, he doesn't slap her, but he basically he tells her to like get back in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And
Yikes.
Judy Jetson was going to go with her friends to Acapulco after school, because you could do that apparently in the future on a day trip after school. And she had her swimsuit, and he's like, "Over my dead body!
Yeah.
You're not going to be wearing that." I think he called her a hussy, maybe even.
Yeah.
Like it came out firing. We were like, "Oh, let's introduce the kids to the Jetsons." I am sitting there, jaw dropping half the time, laughing the other half of the time, and my wife is just shaking her head, also laughing at some of because it's not all terrible. There's some bangers of jokes in there, but there's also times where you're going, oh,
George
what?
Jensen's not that role model we thought he was.
No, and they got Rosie the maid, the robot maid.
Mm-hmm.
Because she was like, "I'm not doing this housework anymore." And George is like, "She's finally pulling her weight around here." It's like, what is happening?
Oh, wow.
It's crazy.
No, you go back and watch some of this stuff, man. Like, there's a strong likelihood that as a kid, I laughed very hard.
Well, they just went
because you just didn't know any better.
They all went over your head.
Yeah,
they all went over the head. Yeah, and like this one, you want to talk about male barbaric, the Flintstones. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
that's another
Uh-huh.
one too.
I mean,
And even at the time, it was like, don't talk to your mom like that. I remember my dad being like, "That's not okay.
Don't do that.
And that was a long time ago. Yeah, man. Jeez.
They slipped a lot of adult things back in that one. I believe, like, the first iteration of the Flintstones, when they were still in black and white, they were smoking cigarettes or advertising cigarettes and booze, just weird stuff they did.
Yeah. Well, they hawked cigarettes in old cartoons.
Yeah, but there was, like, ads of, like, them smoking them. Just imagine Fred and Barney sitting back and enjoying a cigarette. It's like, that is the weirdest image.
Oh, don't you remember when Bugs would face the firing squad? He would light up a cigarette.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Put the blindfold on.
Yeah. I mean, Yosemite Sam,
Yeah.
he was ripping heaters.
Oh, yeah.
And they'd show him like rolling it.
Yeah. Ooh, speaking of problematic, Speedy Gonzalez and Pepe
Oh, yeah.
Le Pew. Pepe Le Pew was...
Dave Chappelle's Pepe Le Pew joke is...
Dude, Pepe Le Pew is... He's on a registry.
Yeah, watch lists.
Crossed several lines.
The whole premise of him as a character.
But it's cute for kids, right?
Oh, man, he gives you the creeps. And there's going to be somebody who's like, you know what, though? You need to see it. It's like, so you know not what not to do. Somebody out there has that feeling about Pepe Le Pew, and no, you don't.
Don't put that out there.
You don't need to
keep
do
that
it.
bottled up inside.
You don't need to do it. You don't need to see it. It's okay. All right. Lady and the Tramp on the Vancouver Ford text line. I don't remember Lady and the Tramp.
Yeah, neither do I. Like, I watched it when I was a kid.
I mean,
but-
that's the one where they kiss, right? Like at the
Yeah.
end of the spaghetti or whatever.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's bad or what.
Oh, all right. Well, that's talking cartoons for you. And long story short, make sure you have enough mail at the DMV, Schulte.
Will do. I might need to bring a few Disney movies to watch with me, inappropriate or not. Be there for a while.
They're gonna be like, there's this guy.
Is he watching Song of the South?
He's watching the Jetsons. What? All right. Today on today's program, we will remember Gene Hackman today. Dead at 95 years old. Sad story for Gene Hackman. Very sad story with Gene Hackman. But at 95, you look back at Gene Hackman, the range of that man was incredible. But is he the greatest cinematic coach ever?
I don't really think it's up for debate.
He's got Norman Dale and Jimmy McGinty under his belt.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Hoosiers, Norman Dale, old Hickory High.
Yep.
And then the Washington Sentinels in the replacements, Jimmy McGinty. Both great coaches.
Indeed.
Great cinematic coaches. So we need, who are the best cinematic coaches? Because I feel like it is kind of a slam dunk that if you're talking about who is the best coach over different movies, yeah, he went basketball and football. I'm gonna chalk him up. Yep, Gene Hackman. But what about the characters themselves? Because I feel like Norman Dale's going to be really high on a lot of lists for movie coaches.
Coach Boone is definitely going to be up there.
Oh, remember the Titans, yeah.
Remember the Titans.
Who was the Cleveland Browns manager in Major League? That's got to be up there, too.
Cleveland Guardians.
Excuse
the Cleveland
me.
Indians.
Did I say Browns? Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, no, that's Lou Brown.
Thank
Lou
you.
Brown
That's what
is
I'm
in
thinking
there.
of, Cleveland Browns, but it's Lou Brown.
Yeah. I got one, when we get to this topic, I've got one that I don't know if many people will come up with, but if you want to talk great coaches, you can't ignore him. We'll get to that coming up a little bit later. And no, I'm not talking Gordon Bombay. He should be on that list, though. I mean, guy turned his life around.
Unequivocally.
He went from being a heartless lawyer who got a Dewey to coaching District 5 in the Mighty Ducks. Not just to a district championship.
How about Billy Bob Thornton as the
Buttermaker?
Yeah,
no,
Bad News Bears.
No. He can go straight to hell. If you're gonna say Buttermaker, it's Walter Matthau and Walter Matthau only. All right.
Okay.
Also, very problematic movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
the old one. Holy.
I mean,
Nelly.
the new one isn't.
Yeah.
Much better.
We also have a ton of stuff coming out of the NFL Scouting Combine. Good, bad, and ugly. We got the ugly coming out of it. Reporter Wars. We have the reporters now, and we have responses from them. Boy, you got to love it. But where we got to start, Shaden Sharp dunked on the Wizards and put together his best game as a Portland Trailblazer. Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
Check out Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
Then it's stolen by Sharp. He goes up and packs it down with authority. The right hand smash.
Travis Demers on the call as Shaden Sharp snatched some souls yesterday in Washington, D.C. That, too, of his career-high 36 points en route to a Trailblazers 129-121 victory over the Wizards. Shaden Sharp, 36 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, a steal, and a block in 33 minutes of play. Easy to say, best game of his career.
Easy. And it started the second he hit the floor. He checks in at his normal time, halfway through the first quarter, coming off the bench. The first thing he does, and this is something we've talked about really all week, his aggressiveness. He turns the corner on the DHO, and instead of settling, instead of stopping and assessing, he gets downhill and attacks the rim immediately, gets right to the free throw line. It is the first thing that he does. It is aggressive. It is downhill, and it is exactly what everyone has been begging to see from Shaden Sharp. Chauncey Billups has said that he got moved to the bench for his defense, and that is 100% true. The other part is he got moved to the bench because he lacks aggressiveness, he lacks intensity, he lacks directness. What you saw from him last night...
Sounds like he lacks that dog.
And that's what they're trying to pull out of him. Defensively, he was fine last night. I didn't think it was his best defensive game.
I don't think so either. I mean, when you look at 33 minutes, he scored 36 points, had a plus-minus of 3.
Yeah. I mean,
that kind of paints the picture of what you've been talking about, though, in that he could have where everything clicks on the offensive end, and still, when he's on the floor, there is the lapse to where he dropped 36, and they were only 3 points better than the Wizards. And that's not wholly on him, and plus-minus is not wholly on one singular player. But that kind of paints the picture of that was perfection in what you exactly want from him on the offensive end of the floor. And even like respectability in an effort standpoint, but the lapses still allow for big creation to happen for the other team.
The thing about Shaden last night, when you're talking about the intensity, the dunk is fantastic. That's the cherry on top. But his aggressiveness translated to the defensive end as well. And even if he does make mistakes, I'm okay with that. That happens. I'm not asking him to be Drew Holiday or Derek White defensively. Just be good enough. Because the other night he comes off the bench, he's got 12 points, and he ends up with 1 rebound. It was just like, brother, you got a 48-inch vertical. You should not be a guy, like, if you're not scoring, what else do you do? But last night, you saw the scoring, you saw the rebounding, 3 offensive rebounds.
Yep.
You saw him make the read, get the steal that led to the dunk. He had the chase down block on Kispert. Like, your athleticism is so overwhelming. You should be more than a guy that scores. And that's what you saw. You saw him impact the game with more than just making shots, because he gets to the free throw line 10 times.
How much do we put on that, though? A lot of folks have been saying he needs minutes. Now, if he plays like that, he's going to get minutes, but the hand was forced because Denny Avdia goes down 5 minutes and change into the game, and he ends up leaving with a left quad injury. By the way, bad injury, feel bad for Denny. But
in his return home, yeah.
That sucks, but it's also maybe kind of what this team needs, especially as you enter the hard part of this stretch. You talk about natural shutdowns of guys. Yeah. It doesn't get more natural than that.
No, and for Shaden, here's the thing, and I have said this, and I absolutely believe it. If Shaden, you can say that it came to like a perfect circumstances because Denny does leave the game and it allows for more opportunity. If Shaden has these kind of games, and I'm not just talking about the scoring, if he's playing the right way with the right mindset,
the effort,
he's going to get the opportunity. The second that doesn't happen, I will absolutely call it out. It hasn't happened this year since he's been moved to the bench. There hasn't been a night where Shaden had it going and you went, why isn't Shaden Sharp out there? Because when he's going, he gets the opportunity. There is a 1-to-1 correlation.
Yeah.
The same thing with Scoot Henderson, the same thing with Toumani Camara, the same thing with Denny Avdia. And it was like, well, Jeremy gets more leash. Yes, he does. Ant gets more leash. Yes, he does. DeAndre Ayton gets more leash. Yes, he does.
Should Jeremy have that leash, though, now at this point in the year?
Yes.
I mean, he played 37 minutes. He was not good last night. I mean, he wasn't
Hasn't been good for a bit.
He wasn't an abomination, but his impact was more on the defensive end of the floor, which people don't really care about when they're just watching, but you should care about it. But again, at this point in the year, why not open it up for more run for other guys, especially
because the minutes don't matter. The mentality matters. That is the most important thing. Because the minutes are the minutes, and everybody thinks that that's where you get development. That's not where you get development. It's just not. Where you get development is when you do it the right way, and we've seen it directly with Tumani Kamara and Scoot Henderson over the past year.
So are there those questions though? If you were gonna slide in, I don't know whether it is Chris Murray or Jabari Walker or whomever it will be to slide in for Jeremy Grant. Are you missing a guy who's going to have that effort and that want to?
Well, those two guys are always going to come correct. I know,
but that's where those minutes would come from. And at this point in the year, we're seeing a team win games that is not beneficial. Development should be and we've talked about this. The main thing of this year was development. Those guys you could get developmental minutes with.
I don't like saying this because it's not really fair to those guys, but they aren't at the level of Shaden. I mean, it's just factually.
I'm not talking about Shaden. I'm
talking about but I'm saying, and you're not questioning those guys' effort or mentality or toughness or requisite intensity or any of those things. I thought Chris was incredible last night. They don't win that game without Chris last night.
Yeah,
it was
agreed.
He was fantastic. Looking at that, those guys, they're more your journeymen. You know what you're going to get out of them. Maybe Chris has another gear. I think Chris, you could definitely look at a guy as possibly having another gear. Jabari has some natural limitations because he's a 6'7" center. And it's just, it's just kind of one of those things. Chris could be a guy I could see moving up to 6, 7, 8 in a rotation if everything kind of hits right.
I think we're talking about two different things because right now...
Well, you're talking about getting those guys minutes and basically sitting Jeremy down, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. I don't think that's something that they're prioritizing with those guys. I think the thing that they're prioritizing, particularly when it comes to Shaden, is not the minutes. It is what he does with the minutes that he has.
Sure.
It is something that they have shown with every one of their young guys. If you come correct, the level of in the level of responsibility that you have, and that's the thing. The level of responsibility that either Jabari or Chris has is significantly less than what the expectation or the burden will be on Shaden Sharp in his career.
No, I understand that. But what I'm saying is the 37 minutes and this is what a lot of fans are saying. And look, I don't care how many minutes Jeremy Grant plays. Results are the biggest thing right now. Mm-hmm. And right now the Blazers, there's now reports out from some of the draft nicks saying, look, the way that we've kind of been going through this evaluation process, once you get outside of the top 6 in this draft, it's turning more and more into a wasteland.
It's a project group, and it's a pick your project.
And that's what the Blazers have played themselves into. They can't afford to have another project, and that's where I go. Results at the final buzzer probably mean they should start meaning something, and it shouldn't be wins that they're prioritizing right now because you're seeing teams the bottom is falling out, and there's more and more of a possibility the Blazers do not land in those top 6, and then you're sitting there going, oh boy, where do they go now? Because that just kind of kicks the can down the road another year.
When I look at this, the more and more I look at their draft positioning, because I do think that they should have looked at shutting guys down. Yeah, that's you and I have talked about this. They're not going to. And while I disagree with it, I look at it and go, that draft pick. The more and more I think about it, the more and more I wonder if they have something lined up to attach that to other stuff and make a move.
So attach the draft pick.
Attach the draft pick to players or other capital to make a move in the offseason.
So your winning games would be better for them now because they're going to just trade it away? Yeah. Well, if that's the case, then that changes things. But right now, with we know,
if they don't, and
what is happening just doesn't make sense.
Is there more of a market for that? Because that's the reason they didn't trade. I mean, Scoot was supposed to be this generational talent outside of a draft with Wembanyama, but there was no market for that back then, like 2 years ago. So now all of a sudden, I'm just curious. There's a market for these draft picks.
There was a market for Scoot Henderson.
Yeah.
The teams were looking to trade for Scoot Henderson.
But just not getting enough offered, essentially.
There was pretty sizable players that were put on the table for Scoot Henderson. Franchise-changing type stuff.
And they didn't do it?
And they didn't do it. And I think
that's a red flag.
I don't think it's a red flag at all. Considering one of the deals that I know of, I think they made the right choice.
When you say they're franchise-changing players, obviously but you're saying I don't really follow. If there's a franchise-changing player that comes in, dealing Scoot would have made sense.
It depends on what you're talking about.
Dealing the pick that led to Scoot.
It depends on what you're talking about when you're talking about that kind of player.
Okay. All right. So you're saying they would have had to give up way too much.
Yes.
On top of the Scoot Henderson pick.
Okay.
That makes sense, but
and it would have left them in a position where yes, they would have kept going with Dame, which is what I wanted. I've been on record they should have built around Dame. But had they made the move, they would have had to make additional moves, and they didn't have the capital to make the additional moves beyond that.
Huh. Okay. Well,
so
last night was a great game for Shaden Sharp. He got 33 minutes. He did a whole hell of a lot with them, too. And that's good. That's good to see because he earned those minutes. That's something that you've been saying. If he earns the minutes, he will get them.
Yes. And look, here's the thing. If Shaden goes out and has another performance like this, not even the 36 points, but plays with this level of intensity, plays with this level of aggression, impacts the game the way that he did, he will play. And if he doesn't play, you should go after the coaching staff.
Because what we saw, like we've gotten the text like Shaden looks like a zombie out there at times. We really have seen him play with such a lack of luster that you go, no, you can't play that. That's not what happened last night, and that's not just because he played 33 minutes. From the minute he stepped on the floor,
you saw
you saw a ramped up intensity. Now you need to start seeing it against the non-Wizards of the
Hornets.
world.
The last two times he's looked good have been against the two worst teams in basketball. You have 3 games on this road trip against Boston, against Cleveland, and against Oklahoma City.
You don't want a guy who just feasts on the weak. You want a guy who can go out and do it against
you don't
the good
have
teams
to have
too.
a great performance in order for it to count.
Yeah.
You just need to come correct.
All right.
That's the thing. Is like when I look at his box score, the 36 points is great. The 10 free throw attempts, love it. 8 rebounds, love it. Like those are the things that I want. Like those are markers and indicators of coming with the requisite level of intensity.
Yeah.
And as long as that's there, you have bad shooting nights. Yeah. Like those you can't control ball going in hoop, but you can control how you play.
All right. Let's get to the reaction to that dunk where he came correct in the biggest way. First is Schulte with SportsCenter.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, big news out of the NFL today as Kansas City Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce announced he will return for the 2025 season. He had just over 820 receiving yards and 3 tutties last year. Elsewhere in the league, they're announcing that they plan to install that virtual measuring system they were using in the background last season to determine first downs coming up next year. The league also considering making changes to overtime rules in the regular season to decrease the advantage for teams who win the coin toss. It would guarantee a possession for both teams, or at least that is reportedly an option. On to the association. The Blazers off on a travel day after grabbing their 26th win of the season last night over the Wizards. Shaden Sharp with a career-high 36. On to Brooklyn now to face the Nets tomorrow night. And on the college hardwood tonight, the Portland Pilots hosting Pepperdine University. It's their final home game of the season as a 3.5-point favorite. Coverage getting going over on 910 ESPN at 6:30. Tip-off set for 7 p.m. on ESPN+. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Do it every morning. Dirt and Spray. Weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. on Portland's Sports Leader. This is Danny and Dusty on the Odyssey app and Portland's sports leader, 1080, The Fan.
And I'm not sure what they were looking at. Outlet pass grabbed by Oh, Shaden Sharp cocked it back. A vicious right-hand hammer. Ho-ho! Wow!
Kevin Calabro on the call, along with Michael Holton on the Trailblazers television network. We've now played 2 of the cuts. That was from Calabro. When you get a wow out of Calabro, you've did something good. But
Man, I've seen a lot of basketball.
the Wizards call, it may be just as good, and it wasn't because of the professionalism of the call that Kevin Calabro has, but this is the opposition on Shaden Sharp's dunk.
Simon driving inside, kicking it out, passing it right to Champagny, and then hits, take it away. Shaden Sharp! Unbelievable throwdown! Wow!
I couldn't cut that. That was like
What
6
was-
seconds
No.
of nothing.
Well, it ends up being like they come back to it
Yeah.
because they go to the replays because the next play is a alley-oop to Sharp that almost hit. I think it was Rashawn Holmes got a finger on what would have been an insane alley-oop from Sharp too. But the whole clip is about a minute long, and then when they start going to it, Drew Gooden is just like, dear God, like where did he take off from?
My question is, what is going on there with their play-by-play? Because the color guy was doing play-by-play, and then the play-by-play guy jumped in when Sharp did the dunk.
Mhm.
Did you hear? Did
Yeah,
you notice that?
it's good, and then it goes. I can't remember their play-by-play guy.
Well, why was that happening?
Interchangeable? I don't know.
Play-by-play guy go and take a pee, and then he comes back and just like, Shaden Sharp!
Might have been taking a little drink,
Maybe,
hitting the cough button for a split second, and saw
Yeah.
that he was, and that happens.
That was a little off, but
I will say the Wizards broadcast has the best angle of the dunk. It's from the corner to the right, and it's kind of a downward angle, and you can see like it just captures where Sharp takes off from.
well, it was a perfect time for that angle too, because everybody was going the other way because he intercepted, the quick inbound. Then boom, Shaden Sharp gets it, and it's like, nobody was in the way.
No, it just the whole thing's cleared, and you can see how far he cocks it back, and him bodying up Champagny and pulling it past Champagny, trying to get the deflection, and it captures everything perfectly.
Poor Champagny goes from San Antonio to this
Stuff.
That dunk. It's up there as one of the best dunks of the year. I mean, they're
In the
calling
NBA.
it dunk of the year
Yeah.
in the NBA, and right now it's. I mean, Ja has one. I saw that NBA
the
tweeted.
reverse pump dunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
NBA tweeted out that of the highest vertical leaps in the NBA on dunks this year in game, Shaden Sharp has 4 of the top 5.
Look, he's got a legitimate 48-inch vertical.
And you have said that you want to see Shaden in the dunk contest.
Unabashedly.
My whole pushback, and the only pushback I have to that, is his profile isn't high enough to be like in last year's. If he keeps dunking and people notice him and they keep pumping things out like he has 4 of the top 5, then his profile rises. Right now, not enough people know who he is.
I disagree because Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon had no profile. Unless you were a hoop head, you did not know who those guys were, as other than they're fun little prospects, they're young guys. If you are a dunker of that level in that dunk contest,
We're talking getting stars in it. He'd be buried by the stars.
I don't care. He would run the stars out of the building. He'd run the stars out of the building. That's like I know some of the dunks that Shaden was talking about doing when he was talking
Why
about
doesn't he do it?
The NBA screwed him over. That's what happened. His rookie year, they invited him to the dunk contest and he was going to go, but they told him he wasn't going to be a part of the rookie sophomore game. And he was like, "What do you mean?"
Well, I mean,
he averaged 12 points a game his rookie year. I mean, he was entirely fine. Like he was.
I know, but
he.
So that's why you're not going to do the dunk contest?
Yeah, no, he felt miffed.
Hmm.
I have no problem with that.
Yeah, well, I mean,
He didn't want to go out there and just be the gimmick. He was like, "No, I should be a part of this," and he should have.
So
and
if he goes now, he would be totally a gimmick because the only reason that he'd be at All-Star Weekend
And
now is to be
and that's
in
the
dunk
thing,
contest.
and weighing that because of the way the dunk contest has been treated now. It
Yeah,
it has been turned into a gimmick.
Yeah, Mac
because you
McClung
bring
is a
Mac.
gimmick.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
But if you put, let's say you get Ja. Let's say,
Well, his rookie year would have been Mac McClung's first year in it. Yeah.
but he was going to be a part of it. Like that was going to be a thing, and then that ended up happening. But in the politics of this stuff, it gets very dumb. But the stuff that comes along with this, you could put John there, you could put Ant in there, and Giannis says he wants to do it. I don't think Giannis would be very good in a dunk contest. He's too big.
Yeah.
But if you have, let's say you have 2 stars. Let's say you have John Ant, and you have 2 up and coming guys. Let's say you have Shaden. Hell, Does Cooper decide to do it?
Well, no, put Steph Castle back in it. Like
That's fine.
Steph Castle was
He just missed his dunks.
Yeah, you just need to spend a little time on it. Come back next year, do it again. I thought he was good.
Oh, he's got insane hops too, and he has the right kind of body size. To be.
He can fly.
Yeah, but Shaden would win. He would be going into that dunk contest.
Put him in now.
He would be the favorite.
Do it then.
Did you see his warm up dunk before the game?
No.
He went 360 East Bay.
Oh, that's
like
pretty
it
good.
was nothing. Like it was nothing. It was like, I'm sorry, what?
Keep doing that. Do it every game. Do that before every game if you play like you did last night.
I think it was Jabari. It was on the other side of the layup line when he did it, and Jabari just kind of looks at him and kind of giggles, like, "All right, dude."
What are we doing?
Because he did it like it was so nonchalant.
Yeah,
it's like you went 360 through the legs, East Bay. Like, what? How? Like, how is that possible?
You got 48-inch vertical, apparently.
And he just glides, man. And that's the great thing is, if you didn't catch it last night, Brooke Olsendam did the post-game interview with him, and, like, ask him to kind of, what happened through the dunk. He's like, yeah, I thought I took off a little too far away, and then I adjusted midair, and then I realized I could make it, so I decided to cock it back and throw it down.
I often have that problem when I jump.
Yeah.
You
I'm had time to think about, like, what you were going to do.
Too high.
Yeah. Oh, I think I jumped too early. No, think I'm okay. Yeah, I'll just end this dude's career.
He said, I thought I was just going to have to, like, throw it in, and then I realized that I could dunk it. It's like, yeah, because that wasn't the thing. It wasn't Blake Griffin on Mozgov, where he kind of throws it in and puts it on his head. That's the other thing that made that dunk so great. We don't have power dunks in traffic all that often.
That is very true.
It was a powerful dunk where he was looking to tear the rim down.
If you want to get an original dunk and you want to get some people going, you're not going to get like the all-stars to come out and do this, but you find some 7-footers that are mulling around, maybe some local college kids or, a G leaguer, and you get some big dudes and you just have them stand up and challenge it, and you have a dunk in the dunk contest.
A poster dunk challenge?
Over 3 7-footers, that would get you some points.
Yeah.
People would like that. Power dunkers, I love power dunkers.
Look, that's the reason Levine and Gordon, it's not just what they did. Aaron Gordon went under his legs with his legs underneath, with the mascot, but then threw it down with authority. That's what makes dunk contest dunkers great.
All right, the NFL scouting combine is underway. We got 40s going on. The big fellers are running their 40s on the defensive line, and a couple of changes to the National Football League and how the combine operates. We'll get to those next. Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
Danny and Dusty on the Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
The big fellers are running their 40s at the NFL Combine. You had, we just watched Derek Harmon of the Ducks. He ran under 5, which is good at 313 pounds.
Yeah, it's a big old boy. 4.95.
Yeah,
that's boogieing. Little,
very
not
large.
the best out of gate, but that top end you could see he was like, oh,
Big fella.
hello.
Did you see this Combine IQ that the NFL's rolled out?
Yeah, this is really interesting.
Yeah. So what they're doing at NFL.com, they have rolled out what they call Combine IQ. And what it does is it helps you kind of understand the numbers and what they could mean. So they worked with Amazon, and it takes the results of the testing, a guy's college production, and then takes a consensus of 10 different mock drafts for a big board, and it gives a player an individual score between 50 and 99. And at that point, you can, once you get the score, you can compare players this year to players of the past.
All the data that they have.
So using all of the same formula, they've gone back to the draft all the way back to 2003. And they put every single player that has gone to the Combine and plugged them into this formula.
Talk about thousands
since 2003. Yeah. And so you could compare them. You can see kind of where guys lie. And I think the big board, like the consensus big board, is an interesting one because then it gives you a feel of, all right, the production can be flawed because if a guy is from like, I don't know, Campbell's, plays for the Campbell Camels, right? And he has 29 sacks. Yeah, that production is a little bit skewed and swayed. But then you put the mock draft and all of his testing numbers into it, and you get a fair indicator. I went back, and so all of the guys, in about 10 minutes after they complete a drill, their numbers will be input into this thing because they have RFID chips that every player's wearing. So the data just goes straight from once they cross that line, it registers, goes to the computers, they start pumping out the formulas and all that stuff. I went back to look at this because they have all the data since 2003. Do you know, who would you guess would be the number one player that the scouting combine has seen since 2003 in this formula?
Oh,
this formula is going to be proving to be pretty accurate,
indicative
if you go down this list.
I want to say it's going to be like a wide receiver freak, like a DK or a Calvin Johnson or something like that. Somebody who's going to be outside of the physical mold, or is there an edge rusher that's just put up insane numbers? Those are the two position groups that I'm thinking of.
He is neither.
Interesting. Okay. Is there an O lineman on there? That
Calvin Johnson comes in at 11th.
Yeah, I remember his being bonkers.
The number one all time is from the 2014 draft.
2014 draft.
The defensive lineman out of Pitt, Aaron Donald.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Aaron Donald scored a 98. And if you take his athleticism was a 99, his production in college was rated a 96.
Yeah.
And then you take in all of his measurables, he came out as a 98.
That also makes sense because they also have ranges based on position groups. So if you're a running back, if you're under 210 pounds versus over 210 pounds, like if you're under 210, your 40 time, a good time is X. If you're over that, so it takes all these kind of things.
By the way, he ran a 4.68
at what 300 and
at
305 or something like that.
He was a 285 at the combine.
Okay, so he was light at the combine. Okay, but I mean, they just bonkers stuff.
He had a 32-inch vertical. Benched 225 pounds 35 times
at nearly 300 pounds. That's just gross. So, I've been working with folks on the NBA side. I've shared some of this stuff with you, doing similar work behind the scenes of all of the tracking data in the NBA Combine. The NFL Combine, while not a direct correlation, it is because in football you have isolated not always like one-on-one where you can do it in baseball.
Yeah.
You have one-on-one matchups and you can get direct one-to-one comp data. In the NFL, you can get some of that, and because you have plays that you can link things to, and you can get that more granular data. The NFL Combine, while again not entirely indicative, you can make a lot of inferences out of that. As you said, like going back to 2003, you can kind of tie this data and make more sense of it.
Well, I think like it's accurate too in this regard. Like Aaron Donald is number one. He turned out to be pretty good,
Maybe the best
but
defensive lineman of all time.
it also shows you a little bit of the crapshoot of the draft because guys like Isaiah Simmons are in here in the top 10.
Because his combine was nuts.
Robert Gallery is tied for second,
That's
along
not
with
surprising.
Joe Alt, Robert Griffin III, Justin Gilbert, Myles Garrett, and Devin White. Those are all your guys that are tied for second.
The freakish freaks.
And
Because
there's
they were
a
great
lot of really
college
good
players.
ones. Yeah, there's a lot of really good ones. Calvin Johnson comes in at 11th. Oregon's Christian Gonzalez comes in at 12th.
Yeah, he had a
all
monster.
time.
He had a monster combine.
Yeah. Well, he is a freak.
Yeah.
Roma Dunze is in the top 50 of all time from last year's combine. And you could sort through all of these by position group, by school, by year. It's pretty impressive how they do all this.
They've been building towards this.
The highest rated was Brandon Cooks from Oregon State. 92 was his athletic score. He is wedged right in between Joey Bosa and Dante Whitner. That's pretty good.
Dante Hittner was
That's pretty good.
he was a physical freak.
So it's going to be a cool tool to kind of use and mess around with.
No, 100%. And again, like while the analytics bubble, I don't think it's that because it's not going to burst or anything like that. But the analytics push in football has been exponential, where in basketball it's really only tied to the game performance and not necessarily on the anthropomorphic or the testing stuff because it's not as much of a correlation. But it's been interesting to kind of see how this goes because the NFL has been building towards this for the last couple of years, and you can actually go back up as recently as last year, and you could find kind of where guys ranked, and they've just been taking that data and they've gone a step further each and every time.
Yeah.
And that's that's the whole point of this data collection process.
Yep.
Is that if once you get 20 plus years of data, now you can start making some real inferences because your sample just continues to grow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like I just sorted through all the results from Ducks and Beavers. You can do them all. You can do Oregon and Oregon State together. So for the Oregon guys from this state, Christian Gonzalez would be top, 96 total score. Kyle Long from Oregon got a 93. Then Brandon Cooks with the 92. LaMichael James, Marcus Mariota from Oregon, both with 90s. Oregon State linebacker back in 2003, Nick Barnett, came in with an 89, along with Justin Herbert. DeForest Buckner was an 88. Talise Fuaga from Oregon State was an 87. It's pretty cool. Haloti Nada, I feel he got kind of hosed on this. He got an 87. I don't think they got that one right.
Yeah, that feels interesting, or in the sense of like his college tape and his college metrics were incredible.
And he's an athletic freak.
Yes, and he was a monster.
Let's see here.
Didn't he finish second all time in bench press reps?
Haloti, he did 37. He ran a 5.16 at 338
I was saying,
pounds.
wasn't he 330?
Wasn't that one of the fastest DTs at the time, too?
Yeah, he had a 31.5-inch vertical.
How do you have a 30-inch vertical at 340? How is that possible?
Yeah, I think they missed on him.
The explosion there is just what?
Yeah, pretty cool.
Goodness gracious.
So that's something to keep an eye on and to keep in check. All right, 503-864-6326. That is the Vancouver Ford text line. Remembering Legend next. Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
If you're considering new construction,
Fan.
This update is brought to you by Crunch Fitness. Memberships as low as $9.99 per month. Find your Crunch time in Portland, Vancouver, and online at crunch.com. First on the Fan, the Blazers on a travel day today after grabbing their 26th win of the season last night over the Wizards in Washington, D.C. Shaden Sharp had a career-high 36. They're headed to Brooklyn to face off against the Nets tomorrow. They're still sitting 4.5 games out of the final play-in spot, though, in the Western Conference. On the college hardwood tonight, the Portland Pilots hosting Pepperdine University. It's their final home game of the season. The Pilots are a 3.5-point favorite, though. Coverage gets going over on 910 ESPN at 6:30. Tip-off set for 7 p.m. on ESPN+. Round 1 of the Cognizant Classic happening down in Florida right now. A record-setting first round. It was a 59 under for Jake Knapp. He's the current leader at 12 under. Daniel Berger and Russell Henley 4 strokes behind him at 8 under par. And big news today out of the NFL is Kansas City Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce announcing he will return for the 2025 season. He had just over 820 receiving yards and 3 tutties through the air last season. And the NFL also setting their salary cap today for 2025. It's at just over $279 million. That's an increase of almost $24 million per team. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The home of prime time with Isaac and Sue. Weekdays 3 to 7, 1080 The Fan. Danny and Dusty.
All right, my rock smashes your scissors. Oh, no, not these scissors, pal. This is a special titanium steel alloy developed by NASA for the space program. These scissors that smashed your rock to smithereens. No, not this rock. This rock happens to be kryptonite.
With the latest on the Blazers, Ducks, Beavers, and the hottest topics in sports.
Hey, what's happening, Norm?
Well, it's a dog-eat-dog world, Sammy, and I'm wearing milk-bone underwear.
Danny and Dusty on the Odyssey app and 1080.
No!
The Fan.
Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came.
All right. Hour number 2, Danny and Dusty with you on this beautiful Thursday afternoon. Thanks for being a part of our day.
It's quite nice out there.
Yeah, it is. Gene Hackman died.
He did.
95 years old.
It's crazy to think of him as being that old, but then again, I think about he was old the first time I ever saw him.
Hoosiers. He looked old.
He's been around a long time. I think his last movie was like 2006 or 7. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Gene Hackman, he is regarded as one of the best actors of our time.
Oh, God, yeah.
And whether it's the French Connection, where he played old Popeye, and his roles were all over the place.
Crimson Tide, one of my favorite movies ever.
Yeah. Lil Bill from Unforgiven.
Denzel and Gene Hackman in an era where, like,
Popeye Doyle.
Those kind of, like, suspenseful, dramatic military movies were, like, the biggest movies in the world.
Yeah. He was also Royal Tenenbaum, too.
Yeah. His range was incredible because he could play the most dramatic thing ever and then also be I am an FBI agent's head coach.
That's right. And Lex Luthor, too. He's Superman, dude.
He is the best Lex Luthor.
Dude, he was awesome. Mm-hmm. And he died at 95. The whole story about him dying, very, very sad, though. Apparently, his wife, and one of their 3 dogs were found in their house. Like a landscaper came up and noticed the front door was open and was like, that's not good. Apparently, it wasn't out of the norm for them. Like, they'd go up and they'd work on the property and stuff. It wasn't out of the norm for them not to see Gene Hackman or his wife. But he ended up, like, the guy saw the doors open, was like, that's weird. And he went in, and Gene Hackman was in the mudroom. His wife was found dead in another room with, like, pills strewn about.
Their bathrooms, reportedly.
A dog was found in a closet. Was that right?
One dog was found alive near one of the bodies, and one dog was found in a closet.
Yeah. It's just a super sad story, and the police are saying no foul play is suspected.
Actually, that has been updated. The death in the last hour has been marked as suspicious. This is breaking news from multiple reports online.
It sounded suspicious.
And they found no evidence of a gas leak or a carbon monoxide leak or anything like that.
It sounds bad. Like, it's not good. I mean, it wasn't just Gene Hackman dying. His wife was significantly younger than he was as well. I think she was like 30-some years younger than he was.
She was 64.
Yeah, he's 95, so 31 years.
If somebody killed a 95, 96-year-old Gene Hackman, man, go to hell.
He did, and like Gene Hackman, he just kind of disappeared from the limelight and just went away. He was living in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and he hasn't done anything in over 20 years. He just kind of said, "I'm out of the limelight. Bye." We didn't hear from him. So he died at 95 years old, and more details will come out ultimately on what happened there. But sad story out of New Mexico. But you mentioned him playing James McGinty, old Jimmy McGinty, the reject football coach of the Washington Sentinels, who brought in Keanu Reeves and a host of others, including Jon Favreau, to be a wackadoodle linebacker.
The cast of people in that movie is insane when you actually go back and look at it.
It was really good.
You're like, what?
He did what? Huh?
Yeah, Jon Favreau. Keanu Reeves was the reject quarterback from Florida, I believe is what his school was.
They should have just
Played in
kept
the
him
Sugar
at
Bowl.
Ohio State. Just keep it Johnny Utah. And I know Shane Falco, whatever. But they should have kept Florida didn't fit him. Keanu's not a Florida man. Absolutely not. But he played two coaches, and I don't think there's going to be any debate of actors who have played coaches. Gene Hackman, number one, because he was also Norman Dale, Hickory High, the Hickory Huskers, taking them to the Indiana State Championship game. Did you know those rims are still 10 feet? Same height. I'm not a Hoosiers guy. I don't. People that say it's the best sports movie of all time. I disagree with that. But one thing that is undeniable,
we all know it's Space Jam.
It's the new one.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding, guys.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
No, you're saying New Legacy is your favorite movie of all time because you love LeBron.
It's true.
But Gene Hackman was brilliant in it. It's a really good movie. I think if you take Hackman as the best coach in movies, I think we can all agree on that because of what he's done. 2 different movies. I guess the only guy who's come close to that, Billy Bob Thornton, right? He played Buttermaker, and then he played in the Friday Night Lights movie.
Oh, yeah.
The head coach
the Permian Panthers.
The Permian Panthers with Booby Miles. But he's no Gene Hackman. I think you could put both Norman Dale and Jimmy McGinty in like the top. Well, Norman Dale's probably going to be top 5 on everybody's list. But you're going to put Jimmy McGinty maybe top 10, like at the bottom, or maybe a little bit after?
Coach Boone is definitely up there for me.
Herman Boone.
Denzel.
I mean, we're talking characters, we're talking accomplishments.
I'm talking
the entirety.
I'm talking the character.
Just all of it, okay.
Yeah. Because Walter Matthau's Morris Buttermaker is elite in my mind. I would put him in my top 5. I think Buttermaker, Walter Matthau, Bad News Bears, he's making my top 5.
Can I slide in one?
You can do whatever you want, man.
That I think will be a wild card in all of this.
All right.
You already mentioned Gordon Bombay. I think Gordon Bombay is certainly on the Mount Rushmore of actor coaches. Irv Blitzer. John Candy, Cool Runnings.
Ooh, that's a good one. Mm-hmm. Irv Blitzer is a good one.
It's because it's not just the redemption story of the Jamaican bobsled team, but it's the redemption story of Irv Blitzer.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And the cheating scandal, like that was
a good one.
Like that one to me is up there because John Candy factored massively in that. Because like that's the thing is like there's been like some really good actors portraying coaches.
Yeah.
Al Pacino. When we talk about Denzel Washington,
Tony D'Amato, you kidding me?
John Voight in Friday Night Lights. Like, but
Bud Kilmer, he was a jerk.
well, I know, but I'm saying
But
like,
he got them rings.
But I'm saying like
Shoot his knee up.
he was important to that movie, but it was more about Tweeter,
it was about-
and you know, it was less about the coach. Whereas I think like Irv Blitzer was it's about the coach, and Hoosiers it's about the coach, Coach Boone, and the integration of that period, of white and black high school students in a time period that was huge. But his character was huge in that.
Yeah,
I think that when you start like thinking about like talking about Major League, Lou Brown. He's great in that, but it's less about him.
Nah, Lou Brown is a big part of that.
You think so?
Oh, hold on a minute. I gotta sell a guy a
Some
pair of
white
white walls. You know, and then
I see you swinging for the fences again. Yeah.
coming up with the little advice that he would give to all of the players, the fact that he brought in the owner and started ripping off pieces of clothes for every win that they peeled off.
Yeah.
They go and they win it for him when he's in the hospital, right? Because his ticker goes out. Lou Brown, he played a big role for the Cleveland Indians in Major League. He makes my top 5, Lou Brown does.
I feel like his voice just puts him up there alone.
Yeah.
Like it really, that's a big part of the character.
In that same vein, what about Mickey?
Well, hold on. I have 5. And Mick is on the outside looking in. Mick was 6 from Rocky. I got Buttermaker at number 5. Morris Buttermaker, the Walter Matthau version. Don't give me Billy Bob Thornton. Number 4, Gordon Bombay, Mighty Ducks. Number 3, I have Lou Brown, Major League. Number 2, I'm going Norman Dale, Hoosiers. I do not like the movie Hoosiers. Norman Dale, elite character. Number 1, and I don't even think he's my number 1, and it's not even close. Mr. Miyagi.
Okay, there we go. I was wondering if he was going to make this list.
No, Mr. Miyagi, and people don't bring up Mr. Miyagi as a coach.
He's a coach.
Is he really though?
Oh my God, is he a coach?
He's a martial arts teacher.
He's coaching up.
Daniel's son.
I get it, but
wax
I
on,
love,
wax off.
Love those movies, but
he is a coach.
Just think of him as
he's
more
a
of an
life
instructor.
coach.
Yeah,
he's a coach.
He's a coach. It's just a different word for coach, man.
Okay.
It's like saying Lou Brown can't be there because he's a manager.
He's a manager.
Well, that's different,
right?
He's actually coaching, and we all know that the name manager is kind of stupid in baseball.
Well, you're coaching.
We don't get the crane kick without Mr. Miyagi.
Bam.
He's coaching him up.
Bam. How's he supposed to wax on, wax off? He didn't learn that on his own.
Nobody's ever gone home and said, "I got to go talk to my martial arts coach." No one's ever sadd that in the history of anything.
I bet you we could ask Sook about that.
It would be instructor. The word is instructor.
You go to the dojo? You kidding me?
I could be wrong.
Dude, there's a place downtown Hillsboro. It's a karate place called the House of Respect or School of Respect.
There you go.
Oh, it's got a tiger painted on the window too.
Where does Mr.
I kind of want to go there.
What is Mr. Coach
Coach Klein? No, he's a bubbling idiot.
Oh, wow.
I mean, he is.
He is, and he's a wuss.
He's Coach Klein. He's Coach Klein.
Needs Bobby Boucher to help him stand up for himself.
But
it's
Mick was a hard one to leave out. Tony D'Amato, Al Pacino from Any Given Sunday. He was tough to leave out.
Because even though that movie is insane, Al Pacino's fantastic.
In this text on the Vancouver Ford text line, how about Coach from Cheers? If you're going to add TV into this, my top 5 gets destroyed.
Yeah.
By adding.
What about Coach?
Craig T. Nelson.
Hayden Fox, one of the best shows of all time. And I might put Luther Van Dam in there too.
Ooh.
He's a defensive coordinator, but that guy could not coach some ball. But he is a elite character. Ted Lasso also.
Yo.
Ted Lasso is one of the best because it's a show about a coach.
Yeah. I mean,
do you want to fight that one because he's a manager? A gaffer?
Got to be like a goldfish.
Yeah, got to be a goldfish. Ted Lasso would be up there, man. It's
what's the Friday Night Lights TV show?
What's his name?
God. I never got that deep into that show.
His real name's Kyle Chandler. He's a
No.
great actor.
Yeah, God.
Can't remember his name in the show.
Eric Taylor, Coach
Yes,
Taylor.
Coach Taylor.
There we go.
Coach Taylor. Eric Taylor is who we're thinking.
He'd probably be pretty high on a lot of people's lists if you're talking about TV as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He would. He would
Mr.
be way
Cooper?
up there, hanging with Mr. Cooper,
Yeah.
a teacher and
Mm.
a damn fine basketball coach for the Penguins. We got some texts coming in. Coach Brickma, Cubs pitching coach, rookie of the year.
Oh, God.
That's a good one. He came up with hot ice.
This one hasn't been on any list that I've seen, even
Yeah.
online. Danny Glover, Angels in the outfield.
Yeah.
Not on anything. I don't think he's like the best, but I think it should be included at least in the conversation.
Yeah, we can have that conversation. We also need to note, though, the Angels were an absolute disaster until a kid made a wish and Angels helped that team out. They were an abject failure as a baseball club. Actually, still are.
Much like real life, the only thing that will save the Angels is an act of God.
They need Tony Danza to be healthy again, dang it.
Yeah. Put Adrian Brody at shortstop.
Kurt Russell, Miracle on Ice.
Yes.
He was
That's a great one.
That's an
there.
oversight. Yeah.
He's not on any of these lists either.
No. But, like him and Herman Boone, and really, is Norman Dale the actual person? Because they changed a lot in Hoosiers. Like, there is the Hickory High. I do not believe they are the Huskers. They're not the Hickory Huskers. I don't even think it was Hickory High. It's just based on the story.
Trying to see if there is. So no character in the movie represents a real person. There's not a
like
direct
Jimmy.
one-to-one.
There's a hey, this is the guy who they thought was Jimmy Chitwood, right? Like Herman Boone, real guy.
Real guy.
Coach Carter, Ken Carter.
Yep.
From the movie Carter,
What's
real guy.
So interesting thing about that, I know people that went to that high school in that era, and they call it one of the worst movies of all time.
Oh, really?
Yes, because it's a lot grittier and a lot less uplifting than that.
Yeah, Herb Brooks was real.
Yes.
Ken Carter, real.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he actually wasn't just an a-hole. Is that what you're saying?
No.
Coach Carter?
Coach Carter was a bigger one than that. Well, they polished the edges a little bit.
We got results.
Yeah. But it was also in that area of Los Angeles at that time, that is a rough place.
Wasn't that No, that was Richmond, Bay Area.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Yes.
Bay Area.
I'm thinking of the other basketball movie that came out at the same time that flopped.
Goldie Hawn and Wildcats coming in. Oh, yeah.
What? Forgot about
that
one.
Never my cup of tea.
Rick Moranis and Little Giants.
Yeah,
We watched
that's a good one.
We watched Little Giants the other day. Danny O'Shea, beating his big brother.
Annexation of Puerto Rico.
Kevin O'Neill, or Kevin O'Shea, Ed O'Neill, married with children. Al Bundy.
Did I say Ted O'Neill? Ed O'Neill. Good
and then Modern Family as well.
Yeah, you say the annexation of Puerto Rico now. That might have different political implications.
Yeah, you're right.
Just,
You're right. All right. Oh, geez, way over.
Yeah,
We're
little
setting new records here. 503-864-6326. He not going to be in the Combine, and the biggest news out of the Combine so far, Danny Dusty on the Fan.
Backed by popular demand. Danny and Dusty on The Fan.
One of the bigger stories of the NFL Combine is the status of Abdul Carter, the edge rusher out of Penn State, projected to be, in some mock drafts, the number 1 overall draft pick. What a whirlwind it's been.
Mixed messaging, never a good thing to have happen at the Combine. Come in and understand what you're going to do, what you're not going to do, and your medical status.
Well, prior to the Combine, it was he's just going to do interviews. He's not going to work out because he has a shoulder injury that he suffered in the college football playoff. They go through the medicals yesterday, and last night it was revealed he has a stress reaction in his foot that could require surgery. That is massive red flag. If he's got a stress fracture in that foot, you're out, 2 weeks, but you don't want a big person with bad feet. Not good. Today,
feet, knees, back.
Today they say surgery not needed, and he'll work out at Penn State's Pro Day on March 28th. Like, Pro Football Doc on Twitter, he was like, wait a minute. So he's saying that he didn't have any pain in his foot. How did they find the stress reaction if he didn't have any pain, or there's no reason to look at the foot that way?
I would imagine, much like NBA physicals, they go top to bottom. They probably scan everything, particularly if you're a first-round pick.
He was the team doc for the Chargers, though. So he's been through this several times, and he said if there's a stress reaction there and it is not, and you look at it and you say doesn't need surgery, yeah, it's gonna need surgery at some point. That is 100% there. Something's just not adding up with Abdul Carter. He's talented, ridiculously talented. I don't think this hurts his draft stock, but at the same time, there are questions.
It's all one of those things. When you start getting actual red flags, for those that don't know, like, there are actual red flags. You will get marked. Those records will end up being shared with the teams in your draft position slotting regions if you actually have.
No, that's not how the NFL is. Their own doctors make their own reports.
Well,
it's not the NBA. It may be different. The NFL is the only thing that it's not shared with anybody. It is the Dolphins doctor does his physical. Mm-hmm. He does his report. And look, like, Abdul Carter isn't getting yanked on by 32 team doctors.
No, as I'm saying, it's going to be their slotting
in where you're at. And that, boy, they treat it like it's the nuclear codes with what they find in those things. But it's hairy for Abdul Carter. Who knows what's going to happen?
Interesting note as we progress through the Combine here real quick, Derek Harmon's testing is continuing to go on. As the testing goes on, you kind of get a clearer picture of, like, profiles. He's profiling against Chris Jones.
That's
at the
good.
Combine.
He was the most dominant interior defensive lineman, or one of them, in all of college football this past year. He was outstanding. And
to see him, if he does indeed fall out of the first round, some team is going to find themselves in a great position.
He'll interview well there too, and because he is a well-spoken, thoughtful guy, I think he's going to be doing just fine. The biggest news, though, of the Combine so far is what happened at Starbucks last night.
Right?
A report came out last night, and there were no names attached to it, that 2 media personalities had a confrontation.
That was loud enough to raise some alarm bells.
At a Starbucks in the JW Marriott. The layers to this story just keep getting better and better, because the guy who had the confrontation was Jordan Schultz of Bleacher Report,
playing on home turf,
NFL media. He is the son of Howard Schultz, former CEO of Starbucks. So he went into Daddy's house.
It's home field, baby.
And he saw Ian Rappaport, and he was like, hey, we got a problem. We need to talk. Ian Rappaport was talking to an NFL agent and said, no, we don't need to talk. I need to continue having this conversation. Schultz then got in his face, and they were, I guess, chest to chest, and told him, if you have anything to say to me, say it to my effing face. If this continues, we're going to have an effing problem. Rappaport then said, sir, please step back. And Schultz responded with, if this happens again, we're going to have effing problems. Now I'll step back. Rappaport called NFL security to investigate this incident. And it came out today. Rappaport went on the Pat McAfee show and said it was a nothing burger.
So much of a nothing burger that he called NFL security.
He called NFL security.
Yeah. Okay, dude.
There is no doubt in my mind that the whole reason why this happened is because Jordan Schultz had the report that Tom Brady and Matthew Stafford met in Montana, went on a skiing trip, and Tom Brady was trying to woo Stafford to Las Vegas to go and play for the Raiders.
Which, yeah, he probably was.
Yeah. Ian Rappaport threw water on that report because Don Yee, Tom Brady's agent, was obviously not privy to what was going on and went out with a defense statement of that, it's not true, didn't happen. Tom isn't tampering with anybody.
Agents doing what agents do. Push everything down, tamper it down.
Well, this morning the NFL comes out and says, yeah, we looked into it. It wasn't tampering that Tom Brady and Matthew Stafford were hanging out together because the Rams gave Stafford permission to go and seek a new contract or a new home. And so once a team allows that permission, tampering's off. And so Schultz did have a reason to be upset with Rappaport.
Because he stomped on his story and basically said that it was false when in reality it was real.
It was real, and it wasn't tampering at all because the Rams had said, "No, you're good. Go ahead.
Go
and do
talk."
it.
Like we're all openly allowing this. Yeah. So, honestly, shout out to Jordan Schultz for telling Rappaport where he could stuff it.
Yeah, this stuff happens all the time, though, and I think it's weak. Rappaport called the NFL security on it.
No, take your lumps, dude. You carried some water when you shouldn't have carried the water.
Sure. Yeah,
it's that simple.
That's right.
So figure it out. All right, coming up next on the worst day on the web, we have a massive update to the scandal.
Oh boy,
out of Ole Miss and a one Mary Kate as her father is come to the fore, and we have the Facebook updates, as it were. We'll dive into that next here for our worst day of the web. But first, here's Schultz with the Sports Center update.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, big news out of the NFL today. You've got Travis Kelce announcing that he will return for the 2025 season with the Kansas City Chiefs. He had over 823 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns last season. A couple other announcements from the league. They're officially installing a virtual measuring system to determine first downs in 2025. They also set their salary cap for 2025. It's just over $279 million. It's an increase of almost $24 million per team. In the association, the Trailblazers off on a travel day after grabbing their 26th win of the season last night in Washington, D.C. over the Wizards. Shaden Sharp, a career-high 36 points in that one. They're headed to Brooklyn right now to face off against the Nets tomorrow night. They're sitting at 4.5 games out of the final play-in spot in the Western Conference. And on the college hardwood tonight, the Portland Pilots hosting Pepperdine University. It's their final home game of the season. Coverage getting going over on 910 ESPN at 6:30. Tip-off set for 7 p.m. on ESPN+. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schultz at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The ultimate basketball party, Fan Madness, is back. March 20th and 21st at the Stadium Sports Bar at A&A Sportsbook. More info at 1080thefan.com.
It's a continuation from our worst day on the web. Well, and our discussion yesterday about the, I don't even know how to categorize that relationship where two college students dating, man and woman. Woman apparently goes on date with boyfriend's dad.
Yeah.
Dad apparently gets her a couple of drinks and, well, does things. And
this was all story on social media, right?
Oh, yeah.
It went viral.
Yeah.
But like the proof was
point-
from some chats, right?
Yeah. And it was spread like wildfire. Yeah. You had...
Like we haven't seen before.
No, well, since Lily Lang, which I learned about because of this.
Go on.
Well, apparently it was somebody
Lily
who they did essentially the same thing with this Lily Lang girl, but apparently it was like a year ago.
Oh,
yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah, I missed that one.
But yesterday I said I feel bad for everybody involved in this thing,
except for Dad.
Yeah. Now I feel bad for everybody involved in this entire thing.
So, Justin Cornett is Mary Kate Cornett's father. He has taken to social media, and I'm not going to read all of this statement because boy is it long. But he says, by now, some of you know my daughter, Mary Kate Cornett, has been the subject of a totally and categorically false, malicious, organized, and defamatory cyber attack. She's been publicly doxxed, and her family has been forced to take protective measures to ensure her safety. We have filed police reports with local law enforcement in Oxford and the University of Mississippi campus police. Yikes. The viral and interstate nature of these false attacks even led to Congressman Wesley Hunt's office and the FBI to reach out to our family today to join the efforts finding those responsible. Further, I have engaged a highly capable forensic data private investigation team to find the perpetrators. At this stage, we suspect this is some sort of fraternity prank that has mushroomed out of control. I refuse to let my family be targeted and fully committed to pursuing all criminal and civil actions available to those responsible. We will find you. So the long and short of this is, as it continues to go on, he basically says, we are a family of means, and we will absolutely use every ounce of finance and leverage and power to find you and prosecute
They
you.
were saying that they used, because there was a lot of photos that came out.
They're saying it's basically
videos.
AI generated.
Well, yeah, they said that it was doctored photos, AI generated videos, and that basically this is a bunch of frat bros that were trying to prank her and her boyfriend. And oh no, this is going to get ugly because they're going to go after whoever did it, because when you want to talk about something going too far, this is going
This is the
way
kind
too
of thing
far, because
it lasts forever.
Apparently you can hire bots. I didn't even know this is a thing. You can hire bots to spread the like anybody can.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's how most political hoaxes actually gain traction.
Well, I know that, but a frat can do this?
Oh, yeah.
It's not...
People were
because I would always assume that it would be a pretty expensive venture
It's
to
actually
do this.
not. There's a guy...
Obviously, a frat did it.
Well, I mean, there was a guy who had like 11 million followers on Instagram, and he had this podcast, and it was basically ended up being a scam where people well-known guests would be reached out to and be like, okay, it will be a $6,000 booking fee. Basically, you have to pay $6,000 to appear on this podcast. Well, when they did the forensic stuff on it, like these videos would have 350,000 to 500,000 views with 0 comments.
Oh, yeah,
or the comments that would pop up would all be very clearly bots. And it was just like, and if you can use tools like, I think it's like Social Blade, and you can see like spikes and drops in followers. This guy was basically buying 1 million followers a week for like a 10-week period.
Yikes.
Yeah.
And that's probably why it went to, we talked about this yesterday. That was a story that was trending for 2 days straight. 2 days in a row, which 15 minutes things go away on the trending.
Quite quickly.
This thing trended for 2 days because it kept getting amplified over and over and over again by the bots. And then once, and they mention it, Barstool and then Pat McAfee got their claws in it, then all of a sudden boom, the real the real spread started of actual people going into the story. This is going to get ugly. And look, whoever in that frat that's responsible for this, they made a joke where they tried to ruin a person's, reputation. Whoever came up with this scheme, and it sounds like this family is very wealthy, and so is the young man's family, also very wealthy.
That happens at Ole Miss.
They are going to get to the bottom of this, and you didn't ruin your reputation. You're going to ruin your ability to get a job, and you're going to ruin your life because this frat joke. And it was only a matter of time until this happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody using AI to defame somebody and tarnish their reputation, but it not be a celebrity.
Yeah.
Just to be a random person. Where it takes hold and it grows to the magnitude that this did. Here we are. It didn't take long.
It's an interesting spot to kind of fall back into as far as like what this means culturally. And it sucks to kind of say that because it devalues this person and this family. But this family has also said like, hey, we've also started a GoFundMe that's going to go to help other people who don't have the means to fight against this kind of stuff. And 100% of all proceeds will be going there because we don't need a penny, because it was very much putting it on the table of like, no, we're good.
We're rich.
And we're going to find you. Also, we're going to make sure anybody else who wants to act out of pocket like this, here's a nice little fund for you to draw from to find these scumbags and nail them to the wall.
Well, it's not going to take very much effort for them to find them.
How much punishment you guys think they're actually going to get, though? Because this makes me think of back, I think it was like, God, maybe 7, 8, 9 years ago when the Penn State fraternity, they were responsible for the death of one of their pledges. I think Tim Piazza was his name, if I'm remembering correctly, and they literally were, I think, given slaps on the wrist, essentially. The 4 fraternity brothers that ended up being charged in that, and this was, by the way, the death of somebody, I think they got like house arrest or probation, and they're on some kind of list for a few years afterwards, but they didn't suffer many consequences, and someone died. So, I'm on the side of this kind of upset because I would think that we see the hammer come down here, but in Pennsylvania, didn't really come down on those kids. They were rich, they were of means, and so they were able to defend themselves. And I just wondered what the hell's going to happen here, and I hope that it's a hard punishment.
That's the flip side. The people who are rich and of means on this are the victim, as it pertains to what we're seeing now. And I don't know if the people that perpetrated this have the senator on speed dial.
But that frat culture, man.
In the state of Mississippi, you can be jailed for libel and defamation of character.
Okay.
So,
like one of these murderers, I'm going to call him, he only got 2 to 6 months of jail in this case that I'm talking about. So it's just how long will they be jailed?
It's discretion of the judge, obviously. And then it comes down to how good are the lawyers that the other kids are prosecuting, right?
Not just that, you've got your legal recourse, but you also have civil liability that you're going to open yourself up to. And I would imagine that's where the really comes into play.
This isn't just going to be, they're not going to try to go for just a civil lawsuit here.
No.
Because what are you going to take from college kids, right? You're not going to take much. It sounds like they're going to be pushing for jail time for whoever was at the root of this. And at that point, you can get into whether it's harassment. In many states have cyberbullying laws now that are put in place. And I mean, you're going to be getting the gambit is going to be run at this. I mean, this will turn into, they're going to want to turn this into a criminal case. And when you go to harassment, they could also roll this into stalking potentially because of the lengths that they went to, get her pictures, put all of her information out there. Like there's a ton that they're going to try to go after. Some of it won't stick. Some of it will. Who knows where it lands?
But hell hath no fury like a dad scorned with money.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, families, dads.
Yeah. So We'll get a Netflix doc on this. We said this yesterday. We'll get a Netflix doc on this.
No
now
doubt about
we're getting
it.
a different version of that Netflix doc playing
No
out in
doubt
real
about
time. All right, coming up next, one of the all-time greats is no longer mulling a comeback. He's putting it down that he's going to make a return. We'll get to that next year on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan.
Do we and Dusty on the Odyssey app and Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
Well, we're not going to have to wait that long in the will he, won't he return section of the NFL offseason. Pat McAfee first on the scene, confirming that Chiefs, soon to be first ballot Hall of Famer, Travis Kelce will return next season to the Chiefs. He had a sour taste in his mouth, didn't like the way that he played in that last game, and he will be back for at least one more year with the Chiefs.
You could say he's going to shake it off from that Super Bowl loss.
Shake off the rust?
Maybe go back in a time machine like it's 1989.
Feel like he's 22 again.
That's right. Feel like he's 22 again. Write a love story about the game of football. I'm out of Taylor Swift references.
You got further than I could.
That's all I got for you. I don't even think you picked up on the shake it off, did you?
No, I got to shake it off. That was the one that I knew.
Really? Not even 22? Feeling 22?
No.
Everybody knows that.
No. Shake It Off is the one that, when you started with that, I'm like, okay, mark that one down. I got that one.
I got the reference.
I'm not anti-Taylor Swift. It's not my music, but it's.
You better not be anti-Taylor Swift. That's how the Swifties get.
But if you played songs and like mixed in Taylor Swift, I couldn't tell you which one was Taylor Swift and which one was Ariana Grande. Just not my bag.
I honestly don't think that's true.
Oh, 100%.
Schultze's about to have an aneurysm over there.
It's 100. It's 100% true.
That's a lie. I think I'm going to play a song from each at some point for you, just to see if you pick up on it.
It'll go right over my head.
I think there's an element of that though, where like, if you were to say like put Jason and Travis Kelce side by side with the Swiftie, they'd be like, I'm
Which
gonna
one is she
go
dating?
with the one that is more maintained because he's dating Taylor. But I don't know.
Looks pretty scraggly sometimes.
I can see. I can.
Look,
understand
female
that.
pop singers not my bag.
I know. Well, we know your brand of music and your musical stylings.
It's metal, hip hop.
It's not. It's not Swiftie.
No. And I have nothing against it. If that's your thing, go for it.
I feel like you're getting bullied into saying it's not my thing, and I respect everybody else's music because I feel like
Look,
if
I don't
it
want to
wasn't
get
Taylor
doxxed.
Swift, yeah, it might happen.
Like I had it happen.
How do you feel about Beyonce?
I had Miami Heat fans dox me during that crap. Like I don't. Leave me alone, man.
Oh, you didn't leave them alone though.
They
that
deserved
was
it.
mutual combat. That was mutual combat there.
No, I was just chilling, minding my own business. What are we talking about here?
Well, Travis Kelce's coming back. He has another run in him.
Yeah, I mean, Brent Veach, he said that they were very much wanting and welcoming Travis back. Was that Monday? That his opening statements at the combine. I was pretty certain it was going to happen, but I also left it open. The idea of you don't want to go out on a loss.
Well,
it's not fun.
And look, there is a lot of it was made of his effort, and I talked about this in the wake of the Super Bowl. A lot of Travis Kelce's really bad plays, not all of them. There were some stinkers in there too, where it was like, this is where you usually create. It was the lack of effort was so he wasn't running through to other concepts that they had on the field, right? Like if they had a lot of times where they had like a sit and curl, and if he runs through as the crosser instead of just sits and stands in the middle of the field, all of a sudden he's in another passing window. There is an element of that. Now, that wasn't every play. He had some real stinkers in there, but at the same time, it wasn't quite as bad as the Twitter tape showed for Travis Kelce. It still was a horrific game in what we expect from Travis Kelce.
The one pass blocking play that played over and over and over again, and with him just standing there after he goes out in the route,
and
it was not a good look.
Well, no, but look what's behind him. There was a lot more to it. It was not a great game for him because they took him away. They double teamed him. He's like, dude, I'm not going to take two guys into another window that Pat has to throw through. So it was bad, but hopefully he comes back and he has another good year. I love watching Travis Kelce. He's fun.
No, I mean, watching first ballot Hall of Famers play is a lot of fun.
I think if he didn't dress like a 70s porn star for Super Bowl 59,
it would have worked out better for him.
It really would have worked out better.
You can't mess with the juju like that.
No.
All right, we have one more day for your opportunity to win one of our best contests maybe ever.
Wu-Tang is for the children.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is your cue right now. Text KIDS, KIDS, to 503-864-6326 now to enter for a chance to win a pair of tickets to Wu-Tang Clan with Run the Jewels July 1st, 2025. That's this summer. Tickets go on sale Friday at 10 a.m., so you can win them before they go on sale. It is a pair of tickets to Wu-Tang Clan and Run the Jewels July 1st, 2025 at Moda Center. Text KIDS to 503-864-6326. You'd think I'd know that number by now. Again, 503-864-6326.
Oh, you only need to text once, by the way.
Yeah.
If you text in 50 times, you only get one entry.
Yeah, and all you're doing is flooding our chat board.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I know you really want to win the Wu-Tang tickets.
Well,
Everybody
it's for
wants
the children.
It's true. Everybody wants to win Wu-Tang tickets.
I want to look at you when I talk to you.
Do not say that to Method Man. You'll get punched in the face.
Let's break bread.
That might work.
That is something that Wu-Tang Clan would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see ODB talking about breaking some bread.
He's dead, R.I.P.
I know. But, that's how he became Ghostface Killer, right?
Wow.
Nothing. All right, coming up in hour number 3. we're going to dive into some NBA news and notes. There's a lot of things going on in the league that I want to make sure we get to before 2:15 when we have Justin Verrier of The Ringer to come on, give you a national perspective on the Portland Trailblazers. That and more coming up in hour number 3 here on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan.
I'm Chelsea Messenger, helping you.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, big news out of the NFL today as Kansas City Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce announced that he will come back and play for the 2025 season. He had just over 820 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns last year. Also, the NFL today setting their salary cap for next season. It's going to be just over $279 million. That's an increase of almost $24 million per team. On to the association. The Portland Trailblazers are off on a travel day after grabbing their 26th win of the season last night. They were in D.C. to face off against the Wizards. They're headed to Brooklyn right now to take on the Nets tomorrow night. Portland sitting at 4.5 games out of the final play-in spot in the Western Conference. And on the college hardwood tonight, the Portland Pilots hosting Pepperdine University. It's their final home game of the season as a 3.5-point favorite, actually. Coverage getting going over on 910 ESPN at 6:30 p.m. Tip-off set for 7 on ESPN+. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
This is your home for year-round NFL coverage. The Odyssey app and Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan. Danny and Dusty.
My Uncle Gus is the uncle that likes to work the grill. As soon as he walk in the house, he's like, get away from that grill. You don't know how to start no fire.
With the latest on the Blazers, Ducks, Beavers, and the hottest topics in sports.
We're going to eat a hamburger, okay? Here we go. Chandler, throw the match. Now that's a fire.
Danny and Dusty on the Odyssey app and 1080.
I'm not cooking a brontosaurus burger.
The Fan.
Hour number 3 here on Danny and Dusty on a Thursday afternoon, whether you're listening on 1080 AM, watching along on youtube.com/1080 AM The Fan, or twitch.tv/1080 AM The Fan. We appreciate you. We love you. Coming up at 2:15, Justin Verrier of The Ringer is going to join us to dive into NBA stuff. For those that don't know, Justin has moved to Portland, even though he covers the league nationally. He is, and let me tell you, if you've never seen JV, he looks like Portland. He's a flannel and beard, just true and true guy. He's a UConn graduate as well, so he's a big fan of Donovan.
Oh, so, Donovan Clingan fan.
Yeah, we'll get to that here at the next segment. But a little bit of a grab bag in the NBA. I don't really know where to get this in, but I wanted to make sure we got it in because we haven't talked about it. Greg Popovich made his return to the San Antonio Spurs the first time in the building since having a stroke last year. And that stroke had not been reported, I believe, until a month ago. Of what had happened, just that he had a medical issue. They didn't highlight that it was a stroke publicly until we had talked about it off air. But they actually calling it a stroke. They did not. They didn't make that public until about a month, 6 weeks ago. From what I have heard from folks down in San Antonio, is that while Pop has started to recover, it very much sounds like his career is probably done.
Yeah, he's old. He just had a stroke, and there's no way that he'll be able to keep up with. I mean, and here's the big concern is that even if he is back to being able to coach, the travel and the rigors of going through an 82-game NBA season, that's damn near impossible.
And the Spurs,
I hope he returns.
I do too. Look, Pop's awesome. And Pop is you can't tell the story of basketball the last 25 years without him.
Yeah.
You can't. Like He's one of the greatest coaches,
he's
greatest
a Hall of
figures
Famer through and through
that the game has ever seen.
Yep.
He's a legend in the game, right? And they released a statement. Pop made his first return. Like his team hadn't seen him since November. Like he hadn't been around anybody. Like to give you an idea of the severity of how things were. That's where we're at with this.
Mm-hmm.
So. But I just want to take a moment and be like, hey, it's awesome to hear that Pop's doing better, that he's back around. It's great in that respect. But don't be surprised if you hear Mitch Johnson is going to take the full-time job from the San Antonio Spurs going forward.
Or they open it up.
I tell you what, I think everybody I've heard, Mitch Johnson has done a hell of a job in San Antonio as far as like how he's developing guys, and they are very comfortable with him.
Well, they're
forward.
very insular too.
Very much so. In a brighter news segment as it pertains to the NBA, you can say a lot of things about Kevin Durant, but you never, ever, ever mistake what he's thinking. The one thing that I do love about him is he says what he feels and he feels what he says, right? It's 100% like he's not this polished, get up there and give you platitude stuff. This is the guy who's like, that's great that you've been playing together for 10 years. What are you going to do when it's Steph Curry in the fourth quarter?
Yeah. Who's guarding Steph? That was great from the what is that, the gold medal doc? That was pretty good the way they did that. I mean, it wasn't the best documentary out there.
The unfettered access to all the locker rooms is what made that work.
Yeah, it was okay. I feel like there was a lot of meat they could have chewed still.
Sure.
There was a lot. I mean, it wasn't unfettered.
Court of gold.
It was they got behind the scenes. You could tell they could have gone.
I mean, just the spicy stuff you saw, it could have gone
good.
further.
It was really good.
But Kevin Durant says he'd play in a one-on-one tournament at the NBA All-Star game with $1 million on the line. I can't think of anybody in the NBA I'd rather guard less in ones than Kevin Durant.
Of course he says that because he knows he's going to win. Giannis would be another tough one too. It would be advantage 7-footer with stroke and can move. Yeah, he would do very well in a one-on-one tournament. I still go back to, but I think the point there is that money talks to these guys.
Everybody's like, money shouldn't motivate these guys. They have all I'm telling you right now, these guys fight over $1,000.
The All-Star game, I still go back to my fix for it is you want it to matter. Put a pile of money.
$12 million in cash suspended above the court or underneath the clear court.
Those are my two suggestions. Or just have a pyramid of it at center court on the scores table. And
just make sure Kyrie doesn't get near it.
You want those guys to play hard. They're going to play hard if they have money on the line that is substantial. Right now, they don't.
No.
And so they're not playing hard.
Katie,
I like that idea,
Katie
but
mentioned
one-on-one would actually end up sucking because it would turn into the same guys winning all the time.
Well, to that point, so Katie mentioned this on the Draymond Green podcast with Baron Davis, and he said his toughest competition of guys that wouldn't immediately come to mind, Jason Tatum and Kyrie Irving. Even though Kyrie's 6'1",
long, athletic,
yes,
yep,
can get to his spots, can shoot, can get to the rim. Kyrie, the best handles and the best guard finisher maybe the game has ever seen, while also being one of the best shooters in the game's history. But he also mentioned Embiid, SGA, and Giannis. Who's guarding Embiid on the block?
Well, nobody, because he's hurt.
But
always.
But you know what I mean.
What about Jokic? Jokic would be torched on defense, but if he gets the ball first, good luck.
You're hoping for a miss, right? But I think those kind of matchups, it'd be kind of like UFC 1 kind of a deal, where it's like it's Butterbean versus Royce Gracie. Styles make fights. You don't really know what's going to happen here.
Yeah, I would.
You put $1 million on the deck, those guys are going to get after it.
Yeah,
there's no doubt about that.
They would play hard, but I also feel like part of the big problem is that's all the All-Star game is anyways, is a bunch of one-on-one. But just not like 8 other guys are on the floor at the same time.
But when you get to pocket the millie.
Yeah. I would be intrigued by it. Try it. Let's see it.
I still think they need to go World USA for the actual All-Star game. But if you add this as an event, get rid of the skills competition and bring this in. This is more fun than skills competition.
I saw somebody propose if you went state by state, like birth state.
Yes.
Oh, it was Habistro. Tom Habistro did this, where you went by birth state.
Yeah, Oregon could field actually a pretty decent team.
It would be.
He left Kevin Love off the team, though, for some reason.
Well, it's because Kevin Love...
he's old.
Oh, I know, but he had some old guys on there.
We haven't talked about Kevin Love's response to Angel Reese on Instagram.
Oh, God.
She said... I can't even remember what she said about... She wants to be... something to the tune, and I'm paraphrasing here, of being like an icon and winning championships and being, I don't know.
A brand, basically.
A brand. And he said, I'll take the under.
Hey!
Look, man, when you shoot under 30% on layups.
At first, I thought it was ball sack, and then I saw credible people being like, damn, Kevin. And I was like, oh, okay. Yikes, what?
Kind of
Kevin Love just going after people now.
Well,
on social media.
he's so late in his career now, and it doesn't matter.
Like, what are you gonna do?
Well, he's probably looking at all these kids being like, "Why do you need a brand? You're already a multimillionaire." And I'm not talking about her WNBA salary. She's got friggin' NIL deals up the wazoo. Like, she's making it all right. And I just never understood. Like, well, I need to be a brand too. Like, you've made it. Just play basketball.
They all want to be the brand.
That's stupid. It's dumb.
Well, she's apparently Lisa Leslie is working with Angel Reese now, and they did. It was on a podcast, and I was actually surprised you said it. And Angel asked her, like, what would you have me work on? And she's like, your layups. And I was like, damn.
Well, we all see it.
But for somebody actually to say it in that forum, it's like, well, I wonder how Cheryl Swoops feels about this. It's very fun. All right, coming up next, though, we're going to be joined by Justin Verrier of The Ringer, and we will dive into the Blazers, Shaden Sharp's performance, And even though Justin is here, a Portland local now, a more national view of how the Trailblazers looked at. Danny and Dusty, Tinny the Fan. We now welcome on the show Justin Verrier of The Ringer, the group chat podcast on the Ringer family of NBA shows as well. Justin, thanks for taking some time, man. How you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me, man.
Anytime. I've been trying to get you on, but it was one thing or another just kind of led to we probably don't want to have you come on and talk about how horrible they're playing in late December. And then they go on a nice little run post All-Star break. We get you down the final stretch. First thing we have to dive into last night, Shaden Sharp's dunk. What was the sound that you made when it popped off?
I think I sounded like I was in the jungle, something that certainly wasn't human. He has those moments, and as you guys know, like he'll have one or two of them every season. But man, that might have been the best one I think I've ever seen from him.
What about Shaden? We've talked about this a lot, like Shaden Sharp in the dunk contest. And Danny said that the rookie sophomore snub kind of soured the taste in his mouth of being in the dunk contest. If you were to pick 4 guys to be in the dunk contest in the NBA right now, who would they be? Not Mac McClung.
Too much Mac McClung. That's first and foremost. I mean, do I get to pick from like the top tier of guys?
Yeah.
Because I think the one thing that we're lacking in the dunk contest is just some star level, celebrity level juice. I think Ja Morant, honestly, would be my first pick. Not only is he just like his leaping ability is so off the charts, like you want to get a small guy who can defy like gravity in the way that Shaden honestly can. Just because it just looks cooler than like someone like Dwight Howard, who's like 7 foot doing the same sorts of things. So I want Ja in there first and foremost. Let's see here. I mean, I think Shaden would certainly be on that list. Can we get LeBron? Like, how about old era LeBron trying to go against some of the young guard in there? I think he would be good as well. Man, who else could be there? Is Wemby a possibility? Can we throw a curveball? I know I just said that thing about the big guys, but like, do we have to raise the rim for him and let him compete like that?
Just the free throw line dunk where he doesn't even jump. He just leans out with his big old long arms.
12-foot rim for the free throw line.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm picking up what you put down.
If he could be healthy, Zion too.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Beyond Shaden Sharp's dunk last night, you've been in the building in Moda and you've been around Shaden now, and you've seen kind of the process this year of he's had some high points, but certainly some low points, and getting moved to the bench and kind of how he's reacted. When you look at his game last night, not just the box score, but the way that he played, what was your kind of takeaway from his game alone last night?
You know, I was expecting coming to Portland this year for this to be the Shaden Sharp takeoff. This is where he finally realized some of the potential. I think he's been teasing for a couple years now. And I know I'm not alone in that regard. I know a lot of people around the league have been waiting for this guy to just hit the level that he's capable of. But ultimately, I think a lot of what his drawbacks have been have just come down to wiring. It just doesn't seem like on a night-to-night basis he just has that attacking, got that dog in him sort of mentality. And so you see when he plays with ferocity, when he's really looking to get downhill, so many good things happen because he's just a super athlete on the level that, frankly, athletes in the NBA aren't even. This dude, as I mentioned, like he kind of walks on air. And you saw it with the dunk there, but like when you see it trickle down to some of the more refined stuff that he could do, like looking for others first and foremost, I think like the 5 assists that he had last night is probably just important as some of the points that he scored. But also, like, you know, he can play above the rim. The shot looks absolutely beautiful. And so it really comes down to just like, does this guy have it every single night? And you look at what just happened when he just plays with like a certain zip that he typically does not.
You know, a lot of the conversation that we've had with our listeners, fans of the Blazers, a lot of arguments Danny gets into on social media, they involve kind of the direction down the stretch of this season. Right now, they have the 10th worst record in the NBA, and losing is not a priority for them. They're saying, we're just going to keep, status quo. We're going to go out. If we win games, we're going to win games. How do you feel the direction that this Blazers team has taken when so many others are starting to pull the cord right now?
Yeah, they really don't have any other option but to go out there and try their best and see how many wins they can stack here, because they're in that kind of dreaded middle zone between playing and being a full-blown tanking team. Unfortunately, the tank race has just become so fierce this way, in a way that we probably haven't seen since Wemby. It's just like there are teams out there that do not care about the product, the game-to-day game results, but also just like the fans who are showing up to games every night. Washington, as you guys probably saw last night, playing through a lot of young guys, even younger than this Blazers team. Brooklyn is trying their best to lose games but can't, but Charlotte, Utah, the Pelicans. There's just so many bad teams out there. And so on the one hand, I do think you might get to the end of the season and be like, what was this season for, right? We set this as a rebuilding project, but to not have a plum draft pick, to not have the top 3 odds in this year's lottery is going to feel pretty bad. But I think on the other hand, you see guys like Shaden start to show things too, I think first and foremost, looking like a starter caliber sort of player once again. I think those are sort of the silver lining sort of things that I think matter more, frankly, than draft odds. Because as you've seen in years past, the flattened lottery odds, I think, do change things a little bit to where like teams can just leap over you and you can find yourself in a situation like the Detroit Pistons were for a couple of years, the Orlando Magic were for a couple of years, where they kept falling into that weird gray area where they missed out on those top tier guys despite throwing away seasons. And so I think they'll ultimately be a little disappointed that they won't be in the flags mix, but like I think you want to stack wins regardless of what could happen in the lottery.
We're talking with Justin Verrier of The Ringer and the star of the group chat podcast.
I appreciate that.
I got you, brother. You're a proud Yukon Husky, so I want to get your take here. What have you seen from Donovan Clingan since DeAndre Ayton has gone down, and you've seen old Kling Kong move into the starting lineup and get a bit more role and responsibility?
He's a big old boy, you know. that first and foremost, like you just can't miss him on the court. He clearly has an impact. And it's funny watching NBA level players try to navigate like how big he is. It's almost like they're jolted in the same way that like I think when Wemby first started getting his legs underneath him, you saw NBA players like go into the lane and like legitimately look shocked. Like Clingan has that type of size and that type of presence, which I think is going to be important for him down the road. I also love like what a good kid he is. Like he just seems like in the locker room, he's just like totally nice and people like being around him. He also likes his teammates, including guys like Ayton, who seems like he has a nice little buddy cop thing going with him, which could have been a pretty complicated situation for the Blazers to kind of navigate there because they play the same position. And obviously Robert Williams is coming in and out. So there are a lot of minutes to be jostled for. I think the big thing is just conditioning with him. You know, you see him get a little winded pretty quickly, which isn't atypical for a big in his first NBA season. It looks like he's playing with a little extra weight there. So I'm ready to see like the UConn version of him where he's navigating the screen handoff game a little bit more, like more in a Isaiah Hartenstein sort of way, because I think he has that kind of potential in him. But I think just the fact that he has a floor to his game right now as one of the elite rim protectors. I looked it up earlier today. I think he's at 8.8 block percentage, which is right behind Wemby for 2 in the league if he played enough minutes. I think you have to be encouraged by that.
Circle of trust here. We're all friends. Is he why you moved here?
I wish I could say that. I will be upfront. I did make the decision before the draft, and so if anything, he followed me here. If he would like to be my roommate, I do have some open space so we can get that going. But he hasn't taken me up on that right yet.
As you look at Donovan Clingan, obviously part of the future here. So is Denny Avdia. Toumani Camara, obviously, is the way that Scoot has shown massive strides. He is. Shaden Sharp turning a corner. You look at those 5 guys, and those are kind of building blocks moving forward for this team in the organization. What is the biggest thing that the Portland Trail Blazers need in your mind moving forward?
I think they need a superstar, which is kind of, I don't mean to sound reductive, but I think that's the one thing that they're lacking. I think all of those guys are ultimately like starting to show signs of being good NBA players in this league to varying degrees. Like we'll see if Scoot is like just a good starter or like a pretty good starter who might flirt with like a Mike Conley sort of ceiling down the road there. If Shaden will ever tap into being like one of the most electric scoring guards in the league on a game in, game out basis where you're expecting 30 from her or not. But unfortunately, I think the most likely scenario is those guys are probably good, solid players. Avdia, definitely showing a lot of stuff this year that I've liked. He's just like a good in the flow sort of player, especially playing off of Kamara, who I know you guys know I love personally.
I love him.
But like, who's the game changer? You know, like, who's going to go toe to toe with a Morant or with a LeBron in a playoff series? I'm not quite sure they have that guy yet, and that's the toughest guy to get for any team, let alone a team in a market that isn't going to draw guys in free agency.
Now you know our frustrations here with the way that this season has gone. Too many wins.
Too many wins.
Well, Justin, I'll get you out of here on this one. there's 23, 22 games remaining now in the rest of the season. What would your ideal kind of closeout to this season be for the Portland Trailblazers? Is it to have Shaden Sharp show more aggression and seize that role by the throat, as it were? Is it to see Scoot have a baseline? Is it to see Donovan Clingan look more comfortable by the end of the season? Like what are the biggest kind of keystones that you're looking for the final quarter of the season?
Is it possible to lose 111 to 110 every single game from here on out?
That's what I'm talking about.
because that would certainly help a long way. I do think you want ultimately some of those plum lottery odds. I think that would be the type of thing that would swing things the most heading into next season. But other than that, I think you're right, Danny. I think it's just incremental improvement. Like, can Shaden play with consistency for the next 2 months of the season? Like, throw out the caveats for end of season basketball not necessarily being like the best sample size. Let's just see it for an extended stretch. Like, that is what I thought he was going to do earlier this season when he had a couple moments, but he really hasn't gotten back to that level thus far. And other than that, it's just like, let's see Clingan playing off of Scoot Henderson a little bit more. Like, let's see how these parts like interconnect in the same way I was referring to with Denny Avdia and Jumani Kamara. There's just like a flow there and almost like a learned experience where those guys play well off of each other. I think you want to start seeing, especially as maybe some of the older veterans are a little deprioritized if the losses start coming. Let's see some like chemistry start to form, because as you guys mentioned, like there's like a 5-man lineup right there that they could take into the future and could be pretty competitive next season with.
Danny told you that we were going to be done with you after that last question. I'm not. Since you are new here, tell me you're a local by what is your favorite local spot that you have found here in Portland?
Oh, I'm a Keeper Coffee guy. I don't know if you guys know that.
That was quick.
He knew.
That was quick.
I'm there like every day. Like, honestly, if you want me to cut ads for them for free, I will do that right now after I get off the phone. I live pretty close by, and it's just like, it's so adorable, man. Like, it just has like the cutest sort of vibe to it. The pastries are incredible. I'm a big coffee guy, and so I love going there all the time. I'll be there probably right after this.
That was fast. I like it, man.
So if you want to catch up with Justin, you know exactly where to catch him. Off of the internet, as it were. If you want trying to catch him on the internet, you can find him on the Ringer, as well as the star of the Group Chat podcast on the Ringer family of series of NBA podcasts. Justin, thanks for taking some time, man. Enjoy the rest of the road trip where we don't have to stumble into Moda for at least another week, and we'll catch up with you a little bit later. All right, brother?
Yeah, that's right. I'll see you guys soon.
Thanks, Justin. All right, coming up next, we're going to go back to the NFL Combine because there's some more news and notes that we're going to get to, as well as some NFL news and changes that are going to be coming your way. But first, here's Schulte with the SportsCenter update.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, the Portland Trailblazers on an off day after grabbing their 26th win of the season last night over the Wizards. A great night for Shaden Sharp, a career-high 36, including one of the best dunks that Portland fans have ever seen. They're on their way to Brooklyn to face off against the Nets tomorrow night. They are still sitting at 4.5 games out of the final play-in spot in the Western Conference. On the college hardwood tonight, the Portland Pilots hosting Pepperdine. It's their final home game of the season. Portland actually a 3.5-point favorite in that one. Coverage starting over on 910 ESPN at 6:30 p.m. Tip-off set for 7 p.m. on ESPN+. And big news out of the NFL today, Kansas City Chiefs tight end Travis Kelce announcing he will be back on the Kansas City Chiefs for 2025. He had over 820 receiving yards and 3 tutties last season. And the NFL officially setting the salary cap for next year. It's going to be just over $279 million. That's an increase of almost $24 million per team. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Jump back to earlier parts of your favorite fan shows on the Odyssey app. The only way to rewind Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan.
Danny Meringue here, and I've got a question for you. Are your old windows costing you money on your energy bills? Or maybe your bathroom is stuck in a time warp and needs a serious upgrade? Well, I've got the answer. YHIC, your home improvement company. These guys are a game changer for you, and here's why. They've got an unbeatable deal, 50% off your window purchase, minimum of 4 windows.
Danny and Dusty on the Fan.
Some more news and notes coming out of the NFL Combine that we just haven't gotten to yet. We already talked about Abdul Carter and the back and forth with him, but there's also been some more news as it pertains to the top of the draft with Travis Hunter. He's talking to teams as both a wide receiver and a defensive back.
And that makes sense. Teams are going to try to get the largest kind of vision of what they could get from him.
Mm-hmm.
And them talking to him about as a wide receiver and a corner is to be expected, but I found it interesting when he was on the podium today and he was asked about, all right, what position have you been talking about? What he said after that is what caught my attention.
You know, I did some meetings at receiver, did some meetings at DB, so it's still up in the air. They say nobody has ever done it for real the way I do it, but I tell them that I'm just different. I'm a different person.
I'm just different. I'm a different person. Look, I get it. He is different. And in college, he could play 115 snaps. You can't do it in the NFL.
The wear and tear.
If there's going to be somebody who's going to try it, it's going to be him. Mm-hmm. But that wear and tear is going to be real. And guys are bigger, stronger, faster. He did not play at a level, and he played at the highest level. He played in the FBS, right? But every single guy in the NFL made it to the NFL from their college team. Yeah. Most of the guys that he faced in college will never make it to the NFL.
The last guy to actually have legitimate two-way impact is probably your Patriots, right? With Troy Brown?
Yeah, Troy Brown, who was a slot receiver, and he wasn't an every down receiver either, and they had to force him into playing corner. Mm-hmm. And in those games where he played corner, he significantly dropped his offensive production. But outside of that, man, it's few and far
Charles
between.
Woodson was the closest thing we got to that in his first 2 years with the Raiders.
Yeah,
but after that, he was just a returner.
The reality is, though, most guys aren't skilled enough to play both ways in the NFL, and he is, but he's not. Like, this is the thing I go back to. He's not the best corner in this draft. No. He's not the best receiver in this draft.
But he's really good at both.
He's really stinking good at both.
Does how the NFL substitute now, with all of the packages and all of the rests that you see up and down both sides of the ball, both wide receiver and defensive back, does that at least open the possibility of him being a guy that sees more production at both?
No, because outside corner is not a position you rotate. So that guy is a guy who's on the field the entire game. A lockdown corner, you don't take off the field. You rotate linebackers, you rotate defensive linemen, you take your nickel on and off the field, but you don't see your lockdown corner leave the field. And if you're an outside receiver, you usually don't leave the game either. I mean, if you're a slot, pending personnel, but you don't see your big play receiver, your big time receiver, your ex receiver leave the game all that often unless he has a big play, goes for 50 and needs a breather. I mean, and that's the thing right there. Travis Hunter wants to play 115 snaps in a league where even the best of the best, when they have a big gain, they're like, no, I need a breath, because you need every ounce of it for every single
to get
play.
back out there. The other news and note, because you have everybody in the league kind of around at the same time.
It would be badass if he did it.
Look, everybody thought that LeBron James was going to be great and all the things that came with him. He's a different type of prospect. The idea of how long he was going to play and redefine and play different positions and all those things. He lived up to that and then some.
Mm-hmm.
It's not impossible. I just don't look at Travis Hunter and go, he's different. Like with LeBron, you knew he's different than anything we've ever seen come in the league. When the Lakers came to town, Denny Avdia is 245 pounds. 6'9", massive human. Like, you don't realize how big he is until you stand next to him. He looked like nothing next to a 40-year-old LeBron James who's still doing what he's doing at 40 years old at 270 pounds. Yep. It's just different. Look, I want to watch it. It's going to be a spectacle. Mm-hmm. Count me interested. One thing, though, that is also come out of this, I guess just meetings of the mind of the NFL, a change that has long been brewing and I don't know why it took this long. The NFL is going to use Hawkeye technology to measure first downs. And for those that are not aware what Hawkeye technology is, it was originally developed for use in soccer. So this is like the same kind of track. It's not even the same kind. It is the same tracking technology the NBA now uses and employs after dealing with some bumps and bruises because it was developed for soccer and not basketball. Oops. But it is the most accurate tracking system that exists in sports right now. That is publicly, I shouldn't say publicly, that is available to leagues.
Think of tennis when you see the in and out when the ball
and how they can do it immediately, because that's how instantaneous this is. What's stupid about this is we've had a chip in footballs for 7 years. 7 years, I think, is what it is, and they just never went to it for whatever reason.
Well, last year they were using the Hawkeye technology, but not to determine the spot of ball. They were going through that entire process, but they wanted to make sure that they could do it. And also, I believe one of the problems was not all of the stadiums were equipped camera wise to implement it. Now they are. I don't know. Still don't know why it's taken this long. But they're going to use it to. The chain gain is not going to be rolling the chains out anymore. Those old men.
They're there as backup.
They still have a job.
Yes,
they will be there. They are not going to take jobs away.
AI is not taking the jobs away.
But because those are the chain gang is valuable because of the fact that it is the marker that you can see on the field, and players.
It's the immediate indicator. It's something you're familiar with.
Players and coaches need it, but if it comes down to it, and it is close, we're not going to have an index card anymore. The index card really should have been the pivot point where they're like, all right, we're done. But it wasn't. So now we are in a position where they're going to use it. You can thank the Kansas City Chiefs and Buffalo Bills for this. But we're going to have accurate first downs. They're saying that with the way the chain gang is, you bring the chains out, then you have to reset the chains, and you have to measure it out, and then you take the chains and you place it on a hash or in the middle of the field again, and it takes 75 seconds to do that. They're saying this will be done in 30 seconds. It'll be quick.
Keep it
boom,
moving.
You're out. Next.
Look, this is the kind of advancement you want to see in sports. It's very simple. We know it works. We know how it works. And part of the reason why they were having some issues with it is, as I mentioned with the Hawkeye technology, it was developed for soccer. You've got fields that are roughly the same size, but the players and the space that they occupy at the same time is significantly different. When you're talking about football or basketball, you're talking about players in a more compressed space. And there are some bugs that they needed to work through. In basketball, you're talking about a significantly smaller playing surface. And the things it tracks and how fast it tracks and how many cameras you need and the computing power necessary to keep up with all of the pace of basketball, and then the massive humanity of football. That's the technological jargon that kind of goes along with it.
I mean, this is going to end horrifically. I mean, it probably will.
I'm more.
So I'm bracing myself.
I'm more optimistic. We were going to wrap up last show with this, so I'm going to come back to this show with it and keep it going on the technology front. Technology is also making an advancement in the game of baseball. We'll get to that next here on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan.
Hello, sports fans, and welcome to
Prime Time with This is Danny and Dusty on the Odyssey app and Portland's sports leader, 1080, The Fan.
Keeping up with the world of technology, professional sports, automatic balls and strikes making their major league debut in the spring training circuit, and boy, is it going well.
Yeah, it is.
I'm loving it.
It is so stinking quick. It is like, and what's really funny about this? So the signal for the pitcher to call for a review is a tap of the head, much like in the NBA, the twirl of the index finger of like, no, we need to go to replay. You tap your head, they go to the replay, and just like the Hawkeye technology for the tennis gets it immediately, it is right on cue. Ump goes to it. They've got somebody that does it. Is it in the box? Is it out of the box? In the box, you're good. Out of the box, it's been fantastic. One umpire was mic'd up the other day, comes back and says, to my surprise, the call is correct. Like, hey, I got that one. It was fun little back and forth.
I have that audio, actually.
Please give that to me.
Hold on just a second. Turn myself up. There we go.
Good breaking ball, just misses. Brett Sullivan get a challenge.
Ball call.
Brett has been expert at the ABS system. Ooh.
The call is surprisingly correct.
That clip is not edited down. That's how quick we turn it around.
I love it.
That's how quick we. That is. Look, man. Major League Baseball Commissioner Manfred was down in the dumps 4 years ago. Maybe the worst commissioner in sports. What he has done in baseball over the last 3-4 years has been nothing short of triumphant.
It's been great, man. And he has, every commissioner makes mistakes. They have their flubs, and everybody hates them for an extended time. Adam Silver's that guy right now. Adam Silver came out of the gate, and everybody loved Adam Silver.
Because he got rid of Donald Sterling, the easiest win you could ever have.
Everybody hated Roger Goodell because he was too heavy-handed. Now Roger Goodell is just kind of...
He's just there.
He's in the background. Nobody hates him. Everybody still hates Gary Bettman. I wonder if the Four Nations.
I bet you Four Nations is going to give him some love.
But he gets booed relentlessly at the Stanley Cup final.
Every time.
Like their team just wins. It's a glorious moment. Everyone's like, boo, Bettman, you suck.
Mm-hmm.
But Manfred is just going through this. He has done a lot to improve the game of baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And that
pitch
is
clock, making the bases 30% bigger to increase stealing, and fundamentally changing the game back to being more enjoyable and more diverse.
Yeah. And the big thing that everybody hates him for is the Astro stuff. But as time has gone by, everybody's like, more information keeps on coming out. It's like, well, he did that to protect every other team in baseball.
Yeah.
Because it would have become a scandal across the board that, all right, if you're going to come at us, we're going to go at you, and everybody was going to get thrown under the bus. So he kind of fell on the grenade on that one for letting the Astros off for nothing. And I mean nothing.
The outright immunity was probably a step too far, but...
Yeah, but if he would have started suspending guys, they would have started throwing everyone under the bus, and that's when it would have gotten ugly.
It would have probably been more reminiscent of the emails that came out with Snyder when Gruden got caught up in all that. Like, what? I didn't do anything. I mean, he did, but I didn't do anything that should have led to that discovery.
Right.
And by the way, John Gruden has been reintroduced in the Tampa Bay Bucks Ring of Honor.
But this was a no-brainer. It's easy. It's simple. It's quick. It speeds the game up, and that's the whole thing. Is they're trying to speed the game up and elicit more action in baseball, make the bases bigger. You're going to get more steals. You're going to incentivize hitting for contact instead of double, dinger, or out. You know, there are good things that he has done to help improve the game of baseball. This is going to be awesome. I just am so mad that they did this the year after Angel Hernandez retires. That is the biggest miss that they could have had, because you would have had so many balls and strikes challenged, and he would have started ejecting players because he was so sensy for getting all these calls wrong. And it would have been fantastic.
And as a point of order,
it would have been drama.
He was dead last in ball strike rates.
And he would have had to eat it in front of 40,000 people. And that's my favorite part about this, guys, that I want to add, that the umpires, that in the world of sports where we don't really see immediate punishment for umps or refs or anything, seeing umpires just have to deal with it and maybe understand, oh no, I need to reframe what I think the strike zone is in front of everybody. Just inject that right into my veins.
I want these guys.
I think this is great for baseball.
To go and just be like, instead of saying it was an incorrect call, be like, got it wrong. We're moving
like
on.
that guy.
Or crotch chop when you get it right and just be like, let's play. You don't even say that. You just crotch chop and then you're like, we're back.
But
back to playing ball.
I think this is going to go a long way to building better relationships with umpires by the way they handle this stuff. Like,
Well-
if you handle it like that umpire just did, the call is surprisingly correct.
Well, there's like that's the thing is that most umpires and players, they have really good relationships. But there are players who get indignant when they don't get a call go their way. Well, now you can challenge it. And guess what? Oftentimes, these umpires are really damn
They have like
good.
a 98% success rate in general, I believe is what the MLB rate was last year.
And I can't wait until
Which is nuts.
we get these players who challenge the calls and they're wrong consistently. And then the umpires are like, all right, go ahead.
Maybe don't tap your head every single time you miss the strike zone.
Yeah.
Dylan.
Maybe your eye isn't that great. Slappy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm here for all of this in baseball. Make baseball awesome.
Just as an aside, to just kind of keep it local as we wrap things up, Jordan Birch ran his 40. Did you see his time?
No.
4.68.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we
shnikes.
did see him run that fake punt this year.
That's a
Dude
big.
has
That's
got
a big boy motoring.
wheels. He is. It's interesting to see what guys will opt into and out of at the NFL Combine. He didn't do the vertical. He is explosive. I think he's just going to sit back and wait for that at Pro Day. Landon Jackson from Arkansas, he had a 40.5-inch vertical.
That's one you want to put on tape, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
That's bonkers. The fastest time so far from the edge rushers, James Pierce ran a 4.5.
It's pretty good.
Goodness gracious.
It's
250 pounds running 4.5 off the edge. Hard pass.
Yeah, we haven't seen anybody like fall or, Chris Jones themselves in the middle of
fangs aren't fanging out of pants.
Yeah, that's Chris Jonesing.
Oh, I know.
We haven't had any of that. I'm sure it will happen at some point. Somebody will, if that happens, we're going to see OnlyFans or Cam Soder be like, we're offering them an endorsement in the NFL.
I want somebody to actually take it one time.
just quit.
Take him up on the offer.
Take him up on the offer.
I'll do it.
$1 million bucks?
Yeah,
Screw it. I'll do it.
Yeah,
I don't want to play football. I want to be on cam.
Well, I mean, that video's lived in infamy ever since, so why not make it another buck off of it?
Dang, Landon Jackson ran a 4.68 and had a 40.5-inch vertical. That's not bad. All right, that does it for us today. Up next, you got 4 hours of power. It's from his mouth to your ears. It's Isaac and Buck with Primetime. Have a great Thursday, everybody.
Bye.
If you're considering new construction and want it done right and fast by a team that's focused on innovation, collaboration, and creativity, you want Mods PDX. At Mods PDX, we craft beautiful, sustainable, energy-efficient buildings of the highest quality. Our modular approach means your project can be completed faster than traditional construction, and our team of uniquely qualified architectural and trade professionals have the expertise and experience to make your vision a reality. Visit us today at Mods PDX.
Big Lou is intimately familiar with your problems, and if you're 50 or 60 years old and in reasonably good